Chapter 39. The Seventh Prison District. The mountains here were steep and rocky, overgrown with weeds, and prison slaves were everywhere. At the entrance, a young man holding a crowbar was surrounded and beaten by a group of prison slaves. The scene was very lively. "Get rid of this kid. We can't let him survive in the seventh prison. If we can't beat this little bastard to death today, our seventh prison will become the joke of the other prison districts in the future. Damn it, he's too fierce. We can't stop him at all. Oh, my hand is broken. It's broken." Many prison slaves kept screaming. They were angry and frightened. No matter what, they couldn't stop this young man's footsteps. The young man's body was suffused with a faint layer of profound energy. The armor was like a cicada's wings, forming a natural defense and blocking the damage of many attacks. Qian-Chi floating around one's body was an ability that only warriors could achieve. However, this young man had become Chani and was already showing signs of becoming a Qian armor. This was definitely an ability that only top-notch warriors could possess. Warriors of other ranks would not have such an ability. This young man looked to be only 28 years old, but he already had such a shocking realm. In fact, this young man was only at the intermediate warrior realm. The young man was like a fierce tiger. He held the crowbar in his hand, and the more he fought, the braver he became. Rays of profound light burst out from the crowbar, and no one could get close within 3 meters. They were all surging with a momentum that swept in all directions. "Come, you're nothing but chickens and pottery dogs in this Viscount's eyes." The blood in Yang Wu's body was surging. He felt that there was a kind of battle-thirsty blood in his body that stimulated his fighting spirit, making him incomparably enjoy the feeling of letting go of his limbs and fighting with all his strength. "You dwarfs dare to be impudent in front of this Viscount? Lie down for me. Hurry up and call your black gorilla over to submit. I might spare his life. If not, you'll end up like him." Blood splattered everywhere, and profound energy surged. It was truly domineering to the extreme. Yang Wu's berserk state was like a god of war. It was truly ferocious. Now, the peach core Dantian in his body was constantly spewing out multicolored light, and his profound chi seemed to be inexhaustible. While it was constantly providing him with combat strength, it was also repairing his injuries. That kind of pain only increased his bloodlust and fighting spirit. The reason why Yang Wu could have so much energy support was not only because of the magic of the Peach Pit, but also because of the Supreme 9 Mysteries formula and the Dragon Turtle Water Suppression stance. Every time he took a step, the water Qian-Chi from underground would rush into his foot acupoint and be quickly absorbed by his Dantian. That was why he could have such an endless supply of energy. With the release of his full strength, several more acupoints in his body, which had only opened 51 acupoints, were instantly opened, reaching a total of 55 acupoints in one fell swoop. These newly opened acupoints were mainly gathered in his arms, greatly increasing the strength of his arms, and the explosive power of his arms became even more terrifying. At the same time, he used this big battle to make the torrential storm spear art even more proficient. Every move reached the stage of great success in one fell swoop, and was only one step away from perfection. No battle skill could be achieved through cultivation alone. Only in actual combat could one accelerate the use of battle skills. "Get out of the way, you pieces of trash. Let me cripple him." A loud and clear voice suddenly rang out, and a loud shout came from afar. After many prison slaves heard this voice, they quickly dodged. They saw a short but extremely fat figure rolling over like a ball. He actually held a big hammer in his hand, and with a strong, profound Qian-Chi, he fiercely smashed it towards Yang Wu. No one was allowed to bring weapons in the prison, but there was always an exception. If the weapon was approved by the prison guards, then there was no problem. This fat man's heavy hammer was a sharp weapon for breaking stones. He also had enough connections to bribe the guards, so he could bring it with him. The fat man had reached the strength of an intermediate mystic cultivator. He was one of the Black Gorilla's 8 great protectors. Everyone called him Fatty Dong. His strength was incomparably overbearing. This mountain-splitting hammer art had a total of 18 hammers, and each hammer was more overbearing than the previous one. With Fatty Dong's strength, he could only use 2 cauldrons of strength, but using this mountain-splitting hammer art was enough to increase his strength to 2.5 cauldrons of strength. If he could use it perfectly, he could even increase his strength by 1 cauldron. This was the importance of battle skills. Don't underestimate the difference of half a cauldron of strength. 1 cauldron was equivalent to the strength of 100 stones. Half a cauldron was equivalent to the strength of 50 stones. It was enough to crush opponents of the same realm. Fatty Dong's hammer seemed to be straightforward, but it had the ability to break through 10,000 techniques with brute force. No matter what kind of fancy technique, it would all turn into fine powder under this hammer. Fatty Dong knew that this young man in front of him had extraordinary strength. If he didn't use his full strength right from the start, he would be courting death. Yang Wu faced this sudden hammer attack. He could completely see the trajectory of his hammer clearly, and could also dodge it. However, he didn't do so. Instead, he raised his palm and slapped it. Wave-splitting palm. After the acupoints on Yang Wu's palms were opened, the strength of his palms was undoubtedly much more powerful. A light blue, profound qi flowed from the Yongquan acupoint through the extraordinary meridians and fell into the hollow of his palms. Like a wave, a whirlpool of energy slapped towards the heavy hammer. This hand of mine is definitely going to be crippled. Fatty Dong said with incomparable pride. It was as if he could already see the end of Yang Wu's hand. This heavy hammer of his weighed no less than 500 pounds. In addition, the strength he erupted with was enough to split mountains and split rocks. This was the strength of an intermediate warrior. On the battlefield, he was also an existence that could enter the elite level. Bang! When the heavy hammer and the palm collided, a powerful explosion sounded. The palm didn't break, but the heavy hammer was sent flying. Fatty Dong's palm split open, and his face was filled with horror. He wanted to quickly retreat, but it was already too late. Yang Wu was already riding the wind and riding the waves. One of his palms was aimed at Fatty Dong's chest, which was even more plump than a woman's. Pooh! Fatty Dong only felt a sweet taste in his mouth, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. His fat body was like a kite with a broken string and heavily smashed into the rubble, raising a large cloud of dust. The surrounding prison slaves scattered, and only Yang Wu stood in the middle. He looked like a crane in a flock of chickens, and he was in high spirits. His face was stained with a lot of blood, and there was even more on his body. However, most of the blood belonged to others. His entire person was filled with a thick aura of hostility. No one dared to underestimate the powerful strength contained in his seemingly weak body. Yang Wu looked around at the surrounding prison slaves. Some were standing, some were lying on their stomachs, and there were at least 200 of them. There wasn't the slightest trace of fear on his face, and he only said in a carefree manner, "You small fries can come and die. Let's see if you can exhaust me to death with your numbers." Yang Wu was very strong, and he was also very arrogant. His words reverberated through the rubble, and many of the prison slaves felt a pain in their eardrums. They looked at the dozens of prisoners lying on the ground, and Fatty Dong who had scattered his weapons. They didn't dare to underestimate Yang Wu anymore. They needed someone stronger to suppress Yang Wu's arrogance. Fatty Dong calmly walked over and picked up his heavy hammer. He looked at Yang Wu and said with a faint smile, "Little brother, I have to admit that you are strong, and you are stronger than me. However, you're only one person, and there are so many of us. It won't be difficult to kill you, but our boss has always cherished talents. As long as you are willing to submit to our Black Gorilla Gang, I believe our boss will make you one of the protectors. You will be able to do whatever you want in District 7, and you won't need to go digging. You will be able to eat and sleep well every day, and you will even be able to accumulate red steel ores for you. In the future, you will be able to escape from the mountain prison and join the army with our boss. What do you think?" Fatty Dong's strongest point wasn't his methods, but his eloquence. He was also the Black Gorilla Gang's chief strategist. Yang Wu revealed a bright smile and said, "That sounds good. It is indeed good. If our boss wanted to join the army, he would have already left. He wants to bring his protectors with him, so he needs to accumulate a lot of red steel ores. That's why he has been here all this time. It is enough to show that he is a righteous person. It is better for you to submit to him than to dig ores every day. Fatty Dong said again. Yang Wu rubbed his nose and said, I just don't understand. Why am I the one who is submitting to him, and not the other way around? I am young and talented, and I am handsome and elegant. How can I not be better than your black gorilla boss? Yang Wu's words immediately angered everyone. Do you really think that you can do whatever you want in District 7 with your strength? Fatty Dong said with a gloomy face. Just SOSO. Yang Wu replied. Although he said so, in reality, he was already using the 9 Supremes' profound formula and the Dragon Turtle water suppressing stance to continuously absorb the water profound chi underground to replenish and strengthen his own strength. He felt that he could break through many acupoints at any time. The feeling of constantly increasing his strength was really wonderful. Fatty Dong, don't talk nonsense with him. Let me dig out his heart and liver to taste it. Fatty Dong didn't have time to answer before a feminine voice sounded behind him. Chapter 40. The person who came was a tall and thin man. His scalp was scattered, covering most of his face. He was slovenly dressed, and his snake-like triangular eyes were suffused with a sinister light that made people not dare to look straight at him. He held a crowbar that was twice as long as a normal crowbar as he slowly walked over. This man was the Black Gorilla's 8 great protectors, Viper Zhang Ping, ranked 5th. Although he was only at the intermediate warrior realm, his strength was close to that of an advanced warrior. He was much stronger than Fatty Dong. The most frightening thing about him was not his strength, but his ability to devour people's hearts. In the 7th region, except for a limited number of people, there was no one who was not afraid of Zhang Ping. They were afraid that he would dig out their hearts and eat them. Fatty Dong glanced at Zhang Ping and then said to Yang Wu, Little brother, you only have one chance. If you don't agree, then this guy next to me who likes to eat hearts and livers will not be polite with you. Fatty Dong, you deliberately don't want me to eat a good meal. Zhang Ping said as he licked his lips. It's a pity for such a young man to die. Fatty Dong regretfully shook his head. Yang Wu did not appreciate it at all. At this moment, he wished that he could continue the battle. The large amount of blood chi that he had accumulated was being refined by him, and the power of the Earth Spirit spring that had seeped into his flesh was also being transformed. Only through the battle could he completely gather these powers into his dantian, allowing him to increase his strength at a faster rate. Don't talk nonsense. If you want to eat my heart and livers, then come. Who knows? Maybe this Viscount will dig out your heart one step ahead of you. Yang Wu said as he hooked his finger at Zhang Ping. Hee, good courage. Then you can go die. Zhang Ping laughed sinisterly and rushed over with small steps. On the ground, there was a rustling sound, like a coiling snake. His movements were ethereal as he approached Yang Wu. Intermediate warrior level footwork skill, coiling snake steps. It was Zhang Ping's famous footwork. Even though he was chained, it didn't affect his speed much. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Yang Wu. The long crowbar in his hand had already pierced out. Zhang Ping was indeed worthy of being called a poisonous snake. This stab was incomparably crafty, aiming straight for Yang Wu's throat. That oppressive crowbar was like a snake biting a person. This pry was so fast and violent that even a senior warrior might be stabbed if they were not paying attention. Yang Wu's divine court senses were extremely sharp. He could clearly see the trajectory of the crowbar. He reacted first and deflected the crowbar. Just when Yang Wu thought he was out of danger, Zhang Ping's other hand suddenly exploded and grabbed at Yang Wu's heart. This combination of illusion and reality was truly seamless, making it impossible to guard against. Yang Wu couldn't react in time, and his heart was grabbed. Fortunately, his Xian Qi floated into his body and formed a thin layer of defense, blocking the force of this grab. Otherwise, his heart might really have been dug out by Zhang Ping. Even so, there were still a few fingerprints on his chest. If he had retreated a little later, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Zhang Ping's claw didn't manage to grab Yang Wu's heart. His pupils shrank, and he once again moved forward with the snake coiling steps, attacking Yang Wu again. This time, he grabbed at Yang Wu's genitals. This move was truly ruthless. This time, Yang Wu was prepared and quickly retreated. At this time, the crowbar in Zhang Ping's hand actually drew a beautiful arc and smashed towards Yang Wu's head. This series of attacks, the combination of illusion and reality, was really exquisite. Yang Wu couldn't adapt to Zhang Ping's attack for a moment. He was forced to retreat again and again, and his body was hit in many places. He was already at a disadvantage. Many of the prison slaves shouted in alarm, cheering for Zhang Ping. Enforcer Zhang is amazing. Dig out his heart and eat it. He's young and doesn't know how to cherish his life. Enforcer Dong already gave him face, but he doesn't want it. He's really reckless. Enforcer Zhang's crowbar and claw aren't any weaker than the previous enforcers. It's already quite amazing that the kid can withstand 10 moves from him. Kill him and let him know the power of our black gorilla gang. Fatty Dong, who was watching the battle from the side, had better eyesight than the others. He didn't know why, but he felt that Zhang Ping's skills were lacking. Zhang Ping only used the same few moves. If he didn't have the advantage of the snake coiling steps, it would be difficult for him to force Yang Wu into such a state. If he couldn't defeat Yang Wu in a short period of time, what advantage would he have when Yang Wu figured out his moves? Indeed, Yang Wu was retreating while paying attention to Zhang Ping's attacks. He already knew Zhang Ping's attack patterns. Moreover, he was also taking advantage of the time when he was retreating to replenish his energy. His condition was getting stronger and stronger, and he could vaguely break through a few more acupoints. This seemed to have a lot to do with the primordial mysterious essence Qi he had refined before. Not only did the primordial mysterious essence Qi raise the level of the regal 9 mysteries formula, it also tempered his body. That majestic vitality might not even be comparable to that of a king. In such a fierce battle, the remaining energy was squeezed out bit by bit. The regal 9 mysteries formula in his body was circulating faster and faster. His meridians and acupoints were constantly vibrating, and his skin was breathing. A large amount of xian qi of heaven and earth was being absorbed into his body. The xian qi of water under the ground was the densest. His peach core, Dantian, was constantly swallowing heaven and earth, and the clouds were becoming more and more ethereal. Strands of xian qi were being converted into primordial mysterious essence qi. Kill. Zhang Ping had been fighting for a long time, and he was already impatient. He roared and bolstered his momentum. The crowbar in his hand flew out, and at the same time, his 2 claws were like snake's fangs. Arrow Snake Pounce. This was Zhang Ping's most powerful move. He wanted to tear Yang Wu apart alive. Yang Wu had recovered to his peak state, and even felt that he had a surplus of energy. He could not help but shout, "Fight!" Yang Wu's momentum was pushed to the peak, and the xian qi on his body became more and more vigorous. He stomped his foot fiercely, and the rocks on the ground cracked. Dust flew up, and the abundant energy in his body was released. The peach core, Dantian's thousands of acupoints opened at the same time. The irresistible force instantly broke through 17 acupoints, and in one fell swoop, he had opened a total of 72 acupoints. Although there was still a long way to go to reach the 108 acupoints of a high-level warrior, for Yang Wu, it was a significant improvement. That roaring qi was like a bull, and the power of stomping on rocks was even more overbearing. It completely overshadowed Zhang Ping's murderous aura, causing Zhang Ping's heart to tremble. However, his 2 claws still followed the crowbar closely and chased after it. Yang Wu did not dodge the crowbar flying towards him. He angrily slapped his palm forward, and xian qi appeared in the palm of his hand, slapping the crowbar away. The power of this palm still courageously slapped towards Zhang Ping's 2 claws. Strength breaks 10,000 laws. Facing Zhang Ping's momentum, Yang Wu no longer blindly dodged. He wanted to break 2 moves with 1 move. No matter what kind of ultimate move came after, he could kill it all with 1 palm. Zhang Ping did not expect Yang Wu's momentum to become so much stronger. Especially that terrifying palm print. He already felt the breath of death. He no longer had the chance to dodge. The power on his 2 claws was at its peak, and he wanted to do his best to tear this palm apart. Bang, bang. The palm energy slapped forward again and again. The claw marks cracked, and the 10 fingers bled. Screams resounded in all directions. All the prison slaves narrowed their eyes, and a chill surged from the soles of their feet to the heavens. Zhang Ping was their 5th protector. His strength had already reached the peak of the intermediate warrior realm, and he was only 1 step away from the advanced warrior realm. However, his 10 fingers were crippled by this young man in front of them. It could be said that he would not even have the chance to use his claws in the future. Yang Wu did not chase after him. His eyes were like lightning, and the prison slaves unconsciously took a step back. His aura was really domineering. Then, Yang Wu looked toward the mountain peak not far away. He could see a strong man standing there like an iron tower. He did not need a guess to know that it should be the boss of the Black Gorilla Gang, He Gu. He gave He Gu a big thumbs up. He Gu, who was standing on the mountain peak, saw this scene, and a faint smile appeared on his face. "Are you paying your respects to me?" He Ji's expression stiffened as soon as he finished speaking. His thumbs were instantly turned upside down, and it was filled with a strong sense of provocation. The prison slaves' eyes changed again. In addition to reverence, there was also a strong sense of admiration. Since He Gu was sent to prison, he had used his fists to establish himself as the boss of the prison slaves. His black gorilla fists were domineering. Even the bosses of the previous district said that if they fought with He Gu, both sides would be injured. They were now 100% sure that they could kill He Gu in 1 blow. Therefore, He Gu firmly became one of the bosses of the prison slaves. In the 7th district, He Gu was fully deserving of the title of the boss. Everyone was convinced by him. Even the captured barbarians were beaten into submission by He Gu. Now, this young man, who looked like he was only 28 years old, had the courage to challenge He Gu. It was hard for them not to admire him. "Ha! The younger generation will surpass us in time. If you can come to the foot of the mountain, I will fight with you. If you can win, I will treat you as my boss. If you can't come to the foot of the mountain, then go to hell." He Gu laughed wildly at Yang Wu and shouted. Just as he finished laughing, several prison slaves with powerful auras walked over. Behind them were hundreds of people. This formation was truly shocking. When Yang Wu saw this scene, he could not help but feel his scalp tingle. Bullying others just because you have more people on your side. How shameless. Yang Wu had an impulse to run away, but in the end, he chose the stupidest way to face the attack. A mayfly trying to shake a tree. He Gu crossed his arms in front of his chest and smiled disdainfully. Chapter 41. Fight! Yang Wu spat out this word in high spirits. His entire body was brimming with battle intent. It was as if his innate battle bloodline had been completely activated. He wanted to fight to his heart's content. The supreme 9 mysteries formula was activated to the extreme. His pores opened and closed as strands of heaven and earth profound chi entered his body. As long as the dragon turtle water-suppressing stance touched the ground, it would be able to absorb the profound chi from the ground into his body. It was as if the profound chi was attached to his feet. It was as if he was floating on water, ethereal and agile. Yang Wu's condition had reached an unprecedented level. His injuries were rapidly recovering. It could be said that he had an immortal body, especially after absorbing the primordial profound essence chi. Ordinary injuries healed in the blink of an eye. It was difficult for them to cause too much damage to him. Facing the encirclement of so many prison slaves, Yang Wu actually dared to fight. In the eyes of others, he must have lost his mind. But for a true martial artist who pursued the path of self-improvement, this was the real test. Only by slaughtering a bloody path would one be able to push oneself to the limit and become stronger. Kill him. Does he really think that he can provoke our Black Gorilla Gang? Fatty Dong ordered the others. Fatty Dong originally wanted to recruit Yang Wu on behalf of the Black Gorilla Gang. Unfortunately, Yang Wu didn't appreciate it at all. He even crippled Zhang Ping's 10 fingers. There was no longer any possibility of mediation between the two sides. They could only kill him. Kill him for me. Zhang Ping roared with a crazed expression as he covered his hand. However, before the prison slaves could completely surround him, Yang Wu had already rushed forward to kill. When Yang Wu was brought to the 7th district, his feet had been chained up again. His movements were as inconvenient as the other prison slaves. His feet could only move in a small area. However, with the help of the dragon turtle water-suppressing stance, his movement speed was still very fast. He stepped on the ground, as if he was stepping on water, constantly drifting. The crowbar in his hand was forcefully swung out, and a light blue profound chi that was more than 3 meters long turned into a dark cloud, enveloping the prison slave that was charging over. When the prison slave who had reached the level of a beginner warrior saw this powerful, profound chi, his eyes revealed a look of horror. He knew that he couldn't escape and raised the crowbar in his hand to block. However, the crowbar collided and sparks flew everywhere. The crowbar instantly flew out of his hand. The profound chi broke through the air and hit him, causing his chest to cave in and blood to spurt out immediately. Behind him, several people were knocked down by his body, and it was a mess in an instant. After Yang Wu succeeded in his move, he didn't continue to linger. Using that direction as an opening, he stepped on the body of the prison slave who had fallen down and swept towards the other prison slaves. The crowbar in his hand didn't stay idle. He swung it left and right, sweeping the prison slaves left and right. Soon, blood splattered all over the ground. Not many of these prison slaves were Yang Wu's match. However, they had the advantage in numbers. They weren't afraid of death. The crowbars in their hands were everywhere. They didn't give Yang Wu too much time to breathe as they crazily smashed Yang Wu. Yang Wu's cicada rope's defense was much stronger. However, under this kind of attack, he still suffered heavy injuries. Fortunately, his body was extraordinary. With the peach cord dantian, he was able to recover. At this time, Yang Wu had just knocked down a prison slave who had sneakily attacked him. 2 crowbars were coming at his head from his left and right. He had just raised the crowbar to block them when his back was exposed. Then, 3 or 4 prison slaves came at him with crowbars. Under such a pincer attack, even if Yang Wu's reaction was fast, he still couldn't avoid it. His body was almost knocked down. There are too many of them. I have to think of another strategy. After Yang Wu thought to himself, he began to change his strategy. He no longer fought with these prison slaves. Instead, he used his nimble footsteps to break out of the prison slaves' encirclement. The more the prison slaves fought, the more excited they became. Someone shouted, "Kill him. He won't be able to hold on for long. He has hurt so many of our brothers. We can't let him live." At the top of the mountain, Black Gorilla looked down at the scene. He sneered and muttered, "What a brainless boy. Does he think that he can kill his way here just because he has some strength? Too naive." After saying that, he no longer looked. In his eyes, Yang Wu was already a dead man. However, at this time, Yang Wu threw away the crowbar in his hand. This was equivalent to throwing away the weapon. Was he going to surrender and admit defeat? How could Yang Wu admit defeat? The more injuries he suffered, the more the blood in his body boiled. A perverted desire to fight swept through his body, causing him to completely fall into a state of madness. He wanted to fight to his heart's content and kill to his heart's content. Wave-splitting palm. Both of his palms blasted out with the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. The acupoints between his hands were like accelerators, shooting out 2 balls of powerful, profound chi. The undulating melody was like water ripples, instantly knocking down 7 or 8 people. At the same time, the scene of the old dragon turtle treading on the wind and waves appeared in his mind. He seemed to overlap with his opponent, quickly comprehending the mystery of the wave-splitting palm. Originally, the whirling wave palm was a battle skill that was related to water profound energy. Waves were formed by the ripples of water, and only the impact of the waves could form a rapid whirlpool that could split rocks. It was the same principle as the dragon turtle sea flipping art, except that the dragon turtle sea flipping art was even more profound, while the whirling wave palm was shallow and easy to understand. Wave-whirling palms struck out one after another. The light blue xian qi formed by the wave-whirling palm became more and more powerful, accompanied by the xian qi. The power contained in the wave-whirling palm was much more terrifying than the ordinary power. One by one, the prison slaves were beaten until they spat out blood and rolled away. Some of the prison slaves even died on the spot. Those who did not die were seriously injured. They simply could not bear the overbearing palm power of Yang Wu. Yang Wu pushed forward. The palm power didn't decrease but increased. Suddenly, the palm power turned into a spiral force. Its destructive power reached a new level. Palm technique minutes subtlety. Yang Wu finally entered the threshold. He comprehended the wave-splitting palm to the minute subtlety stage. It could be said that he had completely grasped the battle form of this battle skill. At this moment, many of the prison slaves were frightened. There seemed to be a few hundred of them, but those who could surround Yang Wu and attack him were only those who were at the front. They were generally stronger, but now they were all lying on the ground in disarray. They were all gasping for air. This scared these prison slaves so much that they didn't dare to act rashly. Haha, come on, don't you want to kill me? Why are you all scared now? Yang Wu faced these prison slaves and laughed wildly. He wiped the blood from his forehead and took a step forward. The prison slaves in front of him unconsciously took a step back. It was really shocking. You trash, get out of the way. I'll tear him apart alive. A loud roar sounded. A huge figure rushed towards Yang Wu like a mountain. Yang Wu looked at that person. He raised his eyebrows and said softly, "Are you from the barbarian tribe?" Yes, the person in front of him was a prisoner of the barbarian tribe. His name was Shurgan. He was one of the 8 protectors of the black gorilla tribe. He had the strength of an intermediate warrior and was extremely strong. He could easily split a top warrior. Shurgan was a head taller than an ordinary person. He had a strong waist and a strong back. When he ran over, the ground seemed to shake. His footprints were branded on the ground. It was really amazing. Yang Wu looked at this big guy. His opponent did not use any terrifying moves. Instead, when he approached Yang Wu, his entire body pounced on Yang Wu as if he had met a long-lost brother and was giving him a bear hug. If it was really a simple hug, it would be fine. But this Shurgan's body was covered with a thin layer of Xian Qi. It contained a trace of the unique brute force of the barbarian tribe. Once he hugged someone, even a rock would be crushed. "Come on," Yang Wu exclaimed. He stood in the same place like a tortoise treading on the waves. His body was slightly bowed like a dragon. His strength flowed through his body. Before Shurgan arrived, he had already thrown out 2 palms. It was like 2 dragons coming out of the sea. Bang, bang. 2 powerful blows landed on Shurgan. If it was an ordinary person, they would have exploded on the spot. However, Shurgan acted as if nothing had happened. He still rushed over and hugged Yang Wu. The powerful brute force instantly suffocated Yang Wu. His bones were squeezed so tightly that they made cracking sounds. It was as if they were about to break. Go to hell. Shurgan didn't kill Yang Wu like this. Instead, he directly stabbed Yang Wu upside down and prepared to smash Yang Wu's head to the ground. He wanted to let Yang Wu die. However, he couldn't do it. Yang Wu's body seemed to be nailed to the ground. No matter how much strength he used, he couldn't lift Yang Wu up. Yang Wu counterattacked at this moment. The qi and blood in Yang Wu's body surged. His peach core dantian was full of holes. The strength of his meridians and acupoints instantly surged. He forcefully broke free from Shurgan's arms and formed seals with his palms, slamming them repeatedly on Shurgan's heart. Every palm strike was as powerful as lightning and as turbulent as waves. It was enough to shatter even rocks. Shurgan's physique was astonishing, and he was very resistant to beatings. Normal high-level mystic cultivators couldn't even think about injuring him with their bare hands. However, Yang Wu's palm strength was comparable to that of a top-notch warrior. Furthermore, it carried a spiral force that directly penetrated his skin and flesh, impacting his heart and shattering it. Shurgan's huge body fell heavily, knocking down a few prison slaves who couldn't retreat in time. The other prison slaves were so frightened that their expressions changed drastically. Shurgan dead. The scene was silent. Shurgan was a guardian who was even more powerful than Zhongping. The impact of him dying like this was too great for them. Yang Wu smiled faintly and rushed towards the mountain peak where Black Gorilla was. He roared, "Those who block me will die." At this moment, Yang Wu was like a dragon turtle emerging from a sea. Stepping on faintly discernible footwork, he slammed out a bloody path towards the mountain peak. Many prison slaves already couldn't pose any threat. Even if they weren't afraid of death, they didn't want to follow in Shurgan's footsteps. They didn't have Shurgan's strong physique, so they would probably die even faster. A bunch of trash. I still have to go personally. A middle-aged woman held a long whip and blocked their way. Her soft breasts were half exposed. She was still charming, and her appearance was somewhat beautiful. It was enough to make all the prison slaves' blood boil. She was Black Gorilla's exclusive lover, ranked third among the 8 guardians, Su Jiahua. Beside her were 2 other people. They were the Great Guardian, Tai Tu, and the Second Guardian, Wine Demon. Chapter 42. Tai Tu, a bald man, was shining under the sunlight. As the Great Guardian, his combat power had reached the level of a senior warrior. He was only 1 step away from becoming a top warrior. Before the Black Gorilla came, he was the boss of the 7th region, which showed how strong he was. Ale Drunkard, a sloppy middle-aged man, had once led a drunken life. Now, without alcohol, he was just a sleeper. His eyes seemed to have never been completely opened, but that unconcealable ferocity was still so sharp. Su Jiahua, Tai Tu, and Ale Drunkard were Yang Wu's last obstacles. Only by defeating them would he be qualified to get close to Black Gorilla. Su Jiahua was a middle-aged woman. She had the kind of sexy appearance that could kill both young and old. She held a pair of polished crowbars in her hands, which could be called iron spears. She pointed them at Yang Wu from a distance, revealing half of her thighs. "Those who block me will die." When Yang Wu's fighting spirit was strong, he didn't care whether Su Jiahua was a man or a woman. He rushed over and mercilessly attacked with his palms. He had already felt that the similarities between the wavy whirling palm and the dragon turtle sea turning technique were both water Xian energy combat skills. However, the latter was more profound. With the latter as a reference, the former was much easier to understand and could be used as a reference to speed up the comprehension of the former. Yang Wu wanted to use this opportunity to reach the level of palm proficiency. You think I'm easy to bully?" Su Jiahua snorted and put away her whip. She changed to a pair of short spears made of polished crowbars and stabbed at Yang Wu. Twin flowers unleashed water. Su Jiahua's attack was extremely sharp. Her 2 spears were covered with sparks that bloomed and went straight for Yang Wu's eyes. The moment Su Jiahua attacked, Tai Tu and Ale Drunkard also moved. To be able to kill so many trash, he's not weaker than us. We can't let our guard down. Let's take him down together. Tai Tu shouted with hostility. Tai Tu's most powerful skill was his iron head technique. However, he didn't use it to attack. Instead, he used his fist to punch at Yang Wu's back. On the other hand, Drunkard Mai staggered his way toward Yang Wu and fired a hidden weapon at Yang Wu from his sleeves, aiming for his vitals. The 3 paths arrived at the same time, each with their own profound chi. The 3 of them had all reached the level of a high warrior, and all of them could force out several feet of Xian Qi. All of them possessed warrior-level battle skills, and were far from what the other prison slaves could compare with. Yang Wu continuously blocked Su Jiahua's spear and Tai Tu's fist, but he couldn't block Ale Drunkard's hidden weapon. His lower abdomen was pierced, and a lump of black seeped out. "Ha, you're dead." Ale Drunkard roared with laughter. Su Jiahua and Tai Tu also stopped attacking. They were gloating. They knew that Ale Drunkard's hidden weapon was the most poisonous, and they attacked together to create an opportunity for Ale Drunkard. Sure enough, the young man in front of them had fallen for it. Yang Wu felt a numbing sensation in his lower abdomen, causing his movements to become much stiffer. He touched the wound and pulled the poison out. When he found that the blood had turned black, he realized that the situation was not good. However, he didn't panic because the energy flowing through his body blocked the numbing poison, preventing it from seeping into his body. When he circulated his energy for another cycle, the numbness completely disappeared, and even the wound was healing. The speed of recovery surprised even him. Looks like I'm not only immortal, but also immune to poison. Yang Wu rejoiced in his heart. He didn't know how miraculous the peach pit in his body was. It was that changed his physique. Yang Wu didn't continue fighting. Instead, he pretended to be in pain. It's poisonous. It's too late to realize that now. I'll smash your head into pieces and let everyone eat your corpse. Consider it your punishment for injuring so many trash today. Wheat Drunkard walked over with a smug look on his face. It was also at this moment that Yang Wu moved again. His palms were like dragons as they viciously smashed into Ale Drunkard's lower abdomen, sending him flying 7 to 8 meters away. Ale Drunkard crashed heavily into a rock and spat out a fountain of blood. His eyes rolled back in his head as he finally breathed his last. Even in death, he couldn't understand why his blood-numbing poison didn't work this time. Su Jiahua and Tai Tu didn't expect such a turn of events. They were both dumbfounded. Yang Wu stood up and patted the dust off his body. Come at me if you have any other despicable moves. I'll take them all. At this moment, the sunlight was slanting down, and the rays of light shone down, elongating his slender and straight figure. Tai Tu, don't hold back anymore. Otherwise, Black Gorilla won't be happy. Su Jiahua said to Tai Tu, let's go all out. He's definitely an arrow at the end of its flight. He won't be able to hold on for long. Tai Tu responded and finally used his iron head technique. His bald head flickered, and his chi condensed into a ray of light. This iron head technique was incomparably domineering. Chi rushed out from the top of his head and rushed towards Yang Wu. Yang Wu was surprised. He dodged and didn't get hit by Iron Head's power. However, the rock behind him was blasted apart by the Iron Head technique. Tai Tu didn't succeed in his first move. Tai Tu repeatedly bowed to Yang Wu. His chi, which had almost reached 10 feet, clashed repeatedly with a light yellow chi. It was truly unstoppable. Golden Top worshipping Buddha. This was a battle technique that had reached the superior warrior level. It wasn't much worse than the inferior general technique. Each level of battle technique was divided into 3 levels: inferior, intermediate, and superior. The higher the level, the more extraordinary the power. At this moment, Su Jiahua no longer held back. She was very clear that if she couldn't stop Yang Wu, Black Gorilla might even tear her apart alive. He was a man who didn't have tender feelings for the fairer sex. Cross twist. Su Jiahua was a woman. She was also a woman like a poisonous scorpion. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been arrested and imprisoned. Her moves were extremely ruthless. The power of the iron spear in her hand was also not inferior to Tai Tu's iron head technique. Yang Wu didn't have a crowbar anymore. However, his palms were suffused with profound chi. He used the power of his palms to shake Tai Tu and Su Jiahua at the same time. His realm wasn't as high as theirs, but his strength was much more powerful than theirs. He wasn't in a hurry to defeat them in the first moment. Instead, he used their attacks to evolve and temper his whirling wave palm. Yang Wu was moving around. He repeatedly struck out the wave, spinning, splitting palm. The palm power carried a slight spiral force. One palm forced back the iron head martial art. The other palm shattered the iron spear flower. His movements were much more relaxed. Tai Tu and Su Jiahua couldn't do anything to Yang Wu, even with their combined strength. They became more and more anxious. The other prison slaves were also anxious as they watched. They all exclaimed in their hearts, "How come that brat's strength isn't exhausted?" In this battle, Yang Wu had fought for more than 2 hours. With such an intense consumption, even a top warrior should be exhausted. However, Yang Wu became more and more courageous as the battle went on. It was really frightening. Tai Tu and Su Jiahua both showed signs of strain. Yang Wu was still calm and composed. Who was stronger and who was weaker will be judged. We can't go on like this. Let's use our unique skills. Tai Tu called out to Su Jiahua. Su Jiahua nodded. Her delicate body emitted a faint, profound chi. Her iron spear was suffused with a different kind of light. It formed a dense spear shadow and crazily bombarded Yangwu. The 8.5 feet long, profound chi spear shadow spun rapidly like a rainbow. It wreaked havoc on the ground, scattering the dust and stones. Taitu didn't hold back anymore. He used up all of his strength and gathered it on his head. A head pillar rushed out like a Buddha's shadow. Its power was astonishing. Two strong moves converged at the same time. Different profound chi rays were incomparably dazzling. The warrior realm belonged to the elite fighting force on the battlefield. The two people in front of Taitu had reached the high warrior realm. When they joined forces, even a top warrior would be somewhat afraid. All of the prison slaves stared at this scene. They wanted to see if the young man in front of them could take the joint attack of these two people. Yangwu naturally realized that the other party was going all out. He also didn't hold back. He mobilized the power in his dantian. The profound chi in his 1,000 orifices erupted at the same time. A surge of profound chi that was much stronger than usual gathered on his palms. There was also a sense of understanding of the palm technique. His palms were like the impact of water waves and also like the splashing of waves. His left and right palm slapped out with profound chi, respectively attacking the spear shadow and the Buddha shadow. Palm technique proficiency. Bang bang. Yangwu's strength was much stronger than Su Jiahua's and Taitu's. His palm strength had entered the proficiency realm. The palm strength he forced out was even more powerful. It directly shattered the two people's attacks and even hit their bodies. One palm slapped on Su Jiahua's chest, tearing her clothes, revealing the white and soft flesh inside. Unfortunately, it was quickly dyed red by blood. The other palm landed on Taitu's head, causing his skull to cave in a little. His head almost exploded. Just when Yangwu had just won, his profound chi was greatly depleted. Before he could recover his new strength, a staff shadow suddenly fell from the sky. The timing was really wonderful. When Yangwu sensed it, he could only urge his arms to hastily block it. Puff! The power of this staff was quite overbearing. It was like the pressure of Mount Tai. It directly hit Yangwu until he vomited blood and his body sank into the ground. The other party didn't stop there. Staff after staff, like a tide, crazily smashed towards Yangwu, vowing to put Yangwu to death. Yangwu didn't have a crowbar in hand. He could only continue to block with his arms. He mobilized the remaining strength on his arms to protect his head. The other party's strength was too strong. His arms were about to break, and the pain was unbearable. When 2/3 of his body had sunk into the ground, the other party stopped attacking. Hey, a stinky brat like you dares to behave atrociously in front of me, Black Gorilla. You really don't know what's good for you. An extremely proud voice sounded in Yangwu's ears. Chapter 43. Who would have thought that after Yangwu had forced back several hundred prison slaves and defeated several Black Gorilla Gang enforcers, he would be sneak attacked and sent to the ground. Both of his arms had been beaten to the point where his flesh was torn and his bones were bent. It was obvious that he was completely crippled. If it was just a normal dislocation, then it would be fine. But now that his bones were bent, it was likely that they had already cracked. If he wanted to recover without the help of elixirs, then he would be completely crippled. It was because of this that Black Gorilla stopped attacking. In his eyes, Yangwu was already a fish on the chopping board that he could slaughter without any threat. Yangwu endured the pain as he looked at Black Gorilla, who was like an iron tower. He unwillingly cursed. The dignified boss of the Black Gorilla Gang actually dares to sneak attack. Do you have any shame? Black Gorilla was incomparably strong. His upper body was naked, revealing his hard muscles that were covered in scars. Anyone who saw him couldn't help but exclaim, "What a tough guy." Before Black Gorilla was sent to prison, he was a hero who specialized in robbing and committing all kinds of crimes. His hands were stained with blood, if not 100, then at least 80. He was definitely a ruthless person. He looked down at Yangwu and said, "Stinking brat, why don't you think about where you are? This is the mountain prison. Who among the people thrown here isn't a criminal? You actually dare to talk to me about being shameless." I think you're a prostitute and then a prostitute. You really don't know what you're talking about. Boss, why are you wasting words with him? Twist his head off and use it as a urinal for us. Iron Head roared as he covered his bleeding head. We can't let him die so easily. Pierce through his head and release the poison. Let him be exposed to the sun and rain. Let him suffer a fate worse than death. Su Jiahua said even more viciously. The surrounding prison slaves also boldly approached and joined in the commotion. Black Gorilla crossed his arms in front of his chest and laughed. Since everyone has accumulated resentment, let's all let this brat drink your urine and then properly deal with him. In the mountain prison, there were no good people. This kind of thing was just child's play. Yang Wu was naturally unwilling to be humiliated. He had been accumulating energy to heal the injuries on his arms. He had to get out of this predicament. His Peach Pit Dantian was different from the rest. The amount of profound qi it could contain was more than 10 times that of a cultivator of the same level. Moreover, it was the prenatal profound essence qi, which was different from ordinary profound qi. The series of battles just now had consumed most of his strength. Even if he replenished it quickly, it would be difficult for him to recover to his peak state in a short period of time. Boss is right. Let me pee on him first. My pee will definitely satisfy him. A prison slave said with a wretched look on his face. Let me go first. I can pee longer than you impotent bastard, another prison slave said. The other prison slaves also fought to be the first to humiliate Yang Wu. As a viscount, Yang Wu had never been humiliated like this, even when he was imprisoned. He was so angry that he roared, "Who dares to pee on this viscount? As long as this viscount is alive, I will castrate him." At this moment, he was madly circulating the supreme 9 mysteries formula and the dragon turtle water suppression stance to absorb a large amount of profound qi into his body. Not only did he need to replenish the energy he had lost, but he also needed to heal the injuries on his arms and rush out of the ground. Black Gorilla looked at the struggling Yang Wu and happily ordered, "Pee on his face." At this moment, a prison slave had already unbuttoned his pants and pulled out a small thing. He was about to pee on Yang Wu when suddenly, a little hay flashed and bit the prison slave's crotch. The prison slave did not have time to react, and his thing was bitten off. He cried out in pain, "It's broken! It's broken!" The prison slave held the bleeding part of his body and fainted from the pain. The other prison slaves who had already unbuttoned their pants were so scared that they shrank back. They were afraid that at least half of them would become impotent. It was too scary. "What is this?" Black Gorilla frowned. A little hay dog had appeared in front of Yang Wu and spat the thing that was bitten far away. It kept sticking out its tongue with a look of disgust. It was very funny. "Little hay." Yang Wu looked at the little hay who had suddenly appeared and exclaimed. He did not expect Little Hay to appear at this moment. He was very touched. Little Hay looked back at Yang Wu, then shook its little tail and barked twice in response. Woof, woof. Such a thin and small figure instantly became much taller in Yang Wu's eyes. "So it's a puppy. Catch it and roast it," Black Gorilla ordered. A prison slave rushed over and tried to grab Blackie, but Blackie was extremely clever. With a leap, he dodged to the side and turned back in an instant, biting the prison slave's arm. The prison slave sucked in a breath of cold air and tried to fling Blackie away. However, Blackie's bite was too deep, and he couldn't get rid of it no matter how hard he tried. "Get lost." The prison slave was angry. He threw a punch at Little Hay with his other hand. Little Hay knew when to stop. It let go of the prison slave and pounced on his face. It scratched with its paws, and several claw marks appeared on the prison slave's face. This time, the prison slave screamed like a pig being slaughtered. He held his bleeding face and looked like he was in great pain. Black Gorilla frowned and cursed, "Trash." When the other prison slaves saw that Black Gorilla was angry, they quickly surrounded Little Hay and tried to grab it. Blackie, on the other hand, dodged left and right. Its movements were incomparably swift, and it wasn't caught by the prison slaves. Instead, it gained quite a bit of advantage, either biting or scratching the prison slaves, causing the prison slaves to be both anxious and furious. This indirectly bought Yang Wu a lot of time. Yang Wu naturally did his best to recover his strength and injuries. The combination of the Sovereign Nine Mysteries formula and the Dragon Turtle water suppressing stance could quickly gather the water profound energy underground. 2/3 of his body had already sunk into the ground and was in close contact with the water underground. As he absorbed the energy with all his might, a large amount of water profound energy crazily seeped into his body through the Yongquan acupoint on the soles of his feet and the pores of his body. The peach core dantian absorbed the water profound energy on its own and quickly replenished the energy it had lost. The peach core dantian could purify the purest profound energy. This profound energy was transformed into prenatal profound essence chi by the author of the Sovereign Nine Mysteries formula. It also contained an undying healing effect that nourished his injured arms. His bones were recovering, his flesh was recovering, and even the acupoints on his arms were showing signs of being opened. "Little Hey, wait for me," Yang Wu shouted. Black Gorilla could not watch any longer. He shouted at the prison slaves, "You can't even catch a puppy. You're all trash among trash." After a pause, he looked at Yang Wu and raised his eyebrows slightly. Then he strode over and said, "This puppy has something to do with you. Wait until I twist your head off. Let's see if it can still jump around." After saying that, he raised his hand and grabbed Yang Wu, wanting to twist Yang Wu's head off. "Damn it, I'm almost there." Yang Wu cursed in his heart unwillingly. Now, his hands had recovered 70%. As long as he was given a little more time, he would definitely be able to recover and break out of the ground to kill Black Gorilla. But now, he could not fight after recovering. Just as he was about to struggle to get up, Little Hay had already passed through the prison slave's crotches and pounced on the back of Black Gorilla's hand to bite it. "Boss, watch your back." The others reminded Black Gorilla. However, Black Gorilla did not need them to remind him. He was already prepared. He immediately turned around and fiercely slapped Little Hay, who was pouncing on him. Little Hay was in midair and did not have the chance to dodge. She was hit squarely by Black Gorilla's palm. Her little body flew away and let out a cry of surprise. Woo-woo. When Yang Wu heard this sound, it pierced his heart. It was so painful that he felt aggrieved. His eyes were red with anger as he roared, "Black Gorilla, you deserve to die." In an instant, he pushed the Supreme Nine Mysteries formula and Dragon Turtle water suppression stance to the extreme. A large amount of water, Xian energy, surged into his peach core dantian, and the 1,000 holes in his peach core dantian were constantly inhaling and exhaling mist. His meridians and acupoints were all humming in unison. The first profound essence chi flowed through his entire body, especially on his arms. Many acupoints were opened at the same time. Those injuries were healed in an instant. The strength in his arms increased explosively. He slammed heavily on the ground. His feet dug into the ground at the same time, like a dragon turtle stepping on water. His body leapt up. Bang! The ground exploded and rocks flew everywhere. He was like a dragon soaring through the 9 heavens. Everyone was stunned. Who would have thought that Yang Wu would be able to break out of the ground? They were all scared out of their wits. They hurriedly retreated and squeezed against each other. Many of the prison slaves fell to the ground and were trampled by their companions. But they could not care less. They had to get away from this fiend first. Black Gorilla narrowed his eyes. It was obvious that he did not think that Yang Wu would be able to break out of the ground. He licked his lips and muttered, "Can coming out change the outcome?" Yang Wu did not rush towards Black Gorilla immediately. Instead, he rushed towards Little Hay. The prison slaves in that direction fled even faster. They did not dare to block Yang Wu's path. Yang Wu rushed to the place where Little Hay had fallen. He found that Little Hay had already gotten up. He hugged it and asked with concern, "Little Hay, are you all right?" Little Hay stuck out its tongue and licked Yang Wu's palm. It let out a few low barks in response. It seemed to be fine. Yang Wu stroked Little Hay's head and said seriously, "It's good that you're all right. Stay here. I will avenge you." Yang Wu was about to put Little Hay down on the ground. However, Little Hay nimbly climbed onto his shoulder and barked angrily at Black Gorilla. "Woof, woof. It seemed like this was not the first time it had done this. Yang Wu looked at Little Hay and smiled. Little Hay, do you want to fight alongside me? Woof woof. Little Hay licked Yang Wu's cheek and barked. Yang Wu understood and said, all right, as long as you like it, I will bring you along to fight alongside me in the future. At this moment, Yang Wu strode towards Black Gorilla. An oppressive aura rose from his body. A layer of light blue silk that was thicker than before wrapped around his body. It was dazzling. Black Gorilla, come and die. Yang Wu shouted at Black Gorilla. Chapter 44. He Gu was the leader of District 7 and one of the 7 bosses of the mountain prison. Naturally, his combat power was not to be underestimated. Otherwise, how could he convince the others? He Ji's hands were stained with blood. He had cultivated an extraordinary general skill, and his strength had reached the level of a top-notch warrior. He was good at using iron rods. The iron rod in his hand was specially approved by the prison guards. It weighed 1,000 pounds, and ordinary martial soldiers could not even lift it. He Gu faced Yang Wu's challenge without any fear on his face. Since he was imprisoned, he had fought hard to obtain his current position. How could he be afraid of a young man's challenge? Even if the young man seemed to be at the same level as him, he was confident that he would win. Actually, you can consider joining my Black Gorilla gang. I can let you be the deputy leader. You can order everyone here except for me. He Gu said sincerely to Yang Wu. Su Jiahua and Tai Tu's expressions changed, but no one dared to say a word. He Ji's words were absolute here. Yang Wu came in front of He Gu and smiled disdainfully. Even if you give me the position, I don't care. Is there really no room for discussion? He Gu frowned. There is room for discussion. As long as you kneel down and submit to me, apologize to Little Hay, and bark like a dog, this matter can be resolved. Yang Wu said. Okay. He Gu replied straightforwardly. This made all the prison slaves pale with fright. Su Jiahua exclaimed, Leader, you can't. He Gu ignored Su Jiahua's words and knelt down in front of Yang Wu. Just as his knees were about to touch the ground, he suddenly leaned forward and swept his iron rod at Yang Wu's legs without warning. It had to be said that He Gu was extremely sinister. However, Yang Wu was already prepared. Both of his feet bounced up at the same time, dodging the Black Gorilla's sweep. Both of his palms struck out, and the palm power that contained the spiral power went straight to the Black Gorilla. He Gu did not panic after losing his attack. He raised his iron rod and emitted a black light to block the spiral force. Then, he swung his rod again and smashed it at Yang Wu's waist. The iron staff emitted a black glow that resembled a python. It was ruthless and ferocious. After Yang Wu landed on the ground, he took the hit without dodging. At the same time, he also hit Black Gorilla's chest with his palm, which could be considered as an internecine attack. Yang Wu received the stick, the Black Gorilla received the palm. Both of them were forced to retreat. Both suffered light injuries, but neither was heavy. Yang Wu's physique was astonishing. With the protection of a light blue cicada robe, he could quickly recover from his injuries. This was also the reason why he wasn't afraid of both sides suffering injuries. Black Gorilla, on the other hand, was conceited that his body was like an iron wall. He was confident that no one in the warrior realm could match him. Unfortunately, Yang Wu's palm energy contained a spiraling force, which still entered his body and caused him some damage. Not bad, but it's a pity that you're dead. Black Gorilla was completely enraged. After he said that, he swung his stick again. Yang Wu replied strongly, Today there is no more Black Gorilla in the 7th district. The stick and palm collided fiercely. Many profound chi collided with each other. The sputtering power caused the surrounding rocks to be riddled with holes, causing dust to fly everywhere. Black Gorilla was able to dominate the 7th district and become one of the 7 bosses. His battle strength was naturally not ordinary. His Thunderclap 7 sticks was an inferior general skill. He had already practiced the first 4 sticks to the proficient level. The last 3 sticks had already reached the microscopic level. When he swung them, there were bursts of explosive sounds that caused people's hearts to turn cold. Mount Tai Crush, Cliff Slash. Black Gorilla continuously used his stick skills. The stick glowed, and the black chi floated. Within one zhang, nothing could come close. Yang Wu didn't have a crowbar in his hand. He only used his palms to attack. The spiraling palm energy that he sent out blocked all of Black Gorilla's power. He still had energy to deal with it. He forcefully broke through Black Gorilla's stick aura. He didn't care about the injuries on his body as he angrily slammed his palm towards Black Gorilla's heart. Yang Wu's desperate attack made Black Gorilla unable to dodge this attack. He was hit by the palm energy. His heart beat rapidly, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. After Yang Wu succeeded in his attack, he pursued aggressively. He was determined to kill Black Gorilla in one fell swoop. Little Hay calmly stayed on Yang Wu's shoulder and cheered for him. She didn't affect Yang Wu's attack at all. Yang Wu's palms were like waves. One after another, they were constantly changing. He had already reached the proficient level. He had already grasped the essence of the wave-splitting palm and was able to unleash extraordinary power. Black Gorilla was completely suppressed. He really didn't expect Yang Wu's battle strength to be so strong. Yang Wu's battle strength was already comparable to that of a top warrior. If this continued, he would definitely be defeated. When Black Gorilla's heart was hit by Yang Wu's palm, although most of the power was reduced, he still spat out a mouthful of blood. Obviously, he was seriously injured. Many of the prison slaves were shocked. If Black Gorilla was really killed, then the 7th District would face a reshuffling situation. This was something that most of them didn't want to see. Of course, there were also some prison slaves who wanted to see Black Gorilla die. Yang Wu didn't dare to let his guard down. When he was about to give chase again, Black Gorilla's body suddenly changed. He let out a beast-like roar, roar. This roar was like the anger of a gorilla. It was powerful and intimidating. Black Gorilla's skin became thicker, and his chest hair grew longer. His body grew taller, and his appearance turned into a gorilla. His blood was boiling. He had turned from a human to a beast. Many of the prison slaves had never seen this side of Black Gorilla. They were so scared that they screamed and retreated. Bo, how did Boss become like this? Could he be a spirit demon? It can't be, right? If so, he would have eaten all of us alive. You are all idiots. Boss is cultivating the beast transformation art. When he transforms into a beast, he is also at his strongest. I see. If that's the case, Black Gorilla Boss's name is true. That's right. Black Gorilla's cultivation art was the gorilla transformation. This was an incomplete art. Otherwise, how could Black Gorilla stop at the warrior realm? He would have already entered the human general realm. Right now, Black Gorilla's body was incomparably strong, and his appearance was much more sinister. His strength was infinitely close to the human general realm, surpassing all the warrior realm strength. This was the terrifying part of the gorilla transformation. Once he used this move, the repercussions would be quite obvious. He would be weakened for half a month or even a month. Black Gorilla didn't care about that anymore. He only knew that he had to tear this brat in front of him alive. He said with a vicious aura, "Since you've forced me to this step, it's time for you to go on your way." Black Gorilla stepped forward. The earth trembled and the mountains shook. His iron rod was like a mountain as it swept forward. Yang Wu could feel Black Gorilla's strength, but he still wanted to see how strong he was. He quickly pulled out the energy from his dantian. His palms were covered in blue light as he slapped forward. It was like a torrential wave that was powerful and turbulent. Pung! The rod and palm collided and profound chi scattered in all directions. Yang Wu only felt an extremely powerful force shake his arms until they were numb. His entire body was pushed back and finally slammed into a boulder. The boulder was only stopped after it had caved in. Woof woof! Little Hay was also a bit affected. She jumped onto Yang Wu's chest and cried out in alarm. Black Gorilla quickly chased after him. His iron rod angrily smashed down again. He roared with a murderous aura, "Die for me." This strike was filled with profound chi and was almost 2 meters tall. It could even smash this boulder into powder. Yang Wu already had no way of dodging. He once again pushed his palms forward, forming a wave of palm energy. He pushed it out with all his strength, making sure to block Black Gorilla's attack. How long? Another shocking explosion sounded out. The boulder shattered and dust flew into the air. Yangwu had already been smashed into a pile of rubble. His palms were bleeding, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. It was obvious that his injuries were not light. Black Gorilla wanted to chase after him again, but Little Hay had already leapt into the air and clawed at Black Gorilla's face. Little Hay was very small, just like a forearm. Her movements were incomparably light, and her attack was just right. Although Black Gorilla's reaction was fast, his face was still injured by Little Hay's claw. "You damned little bastard!" Black Gorilla angrily roared and swung his iron rod at Little Hay. Little Hay's reaction was very fast. She narrowly dodged Black Gorilla's attacks again and again. From time to time, she would scream and twist her butt, wagging her short tail. She looked very provocative. Black Gorilla was not stupid. He could see that Little Hay was stalling for time for Yangwu. He sneered and said, "I'll kill that brat first. Then I'll take care of you, little bastard." Black Gorilla increased his speed and rushed towards Yangwu. His strength flowed through the acupuncture points on his arms and gathered on the iron rod. Once again, he swung his iron rod down. That domineering power was enough to make anyone feel threatened. Little Hay did not even think about it and jumped up from behind. She had to stop Black Gorilla from killing Yangwu. Black Gorilla did not pay attention to Little Hay. Even if he risked being bitten by a dog, he had to kill Yangwu first. At this time, Yangwu jumped up. A different kind of aura suddenly rose. His fighting spirits soared to the peak. His profound chi returned like swallows to their nest. One palm was like a dragon, while the other was like a tortoise. Wave after wave of profound chi surged. The dragon and tortoise formed a seal and instantly rushed towards the waves. "Kill!" Yangwu roared with red eyes. The boiling blood in his body was stimulated to the peak. That crazy desire for victory made him unleash the most stunning attack. In an instant, there was a series of shocking explosions. Many stones flew in all directions. Countless dust and profound chi rolled into a mushroom shape. The surrounding prison slaves were so scared that they covered their heads and scurried away. They were afraid that they would be affected. This kind of movement was heard by the prison guards who were already far away. "Brother, do you want to go take a look?" Did Black Gorilla cause a bit of ruckus this time? A prison slave asked his companion. His companion replied, "Don't worry about it. The higher-ups have already said that we don't need to care about anything that happens in the 7th District today." "What's going on?" "I heard that a brat was taken care of by the higher-ups. They want Black Gorilla to treat him well." "What kind of person is worth so much attention from the higher-ups? Looks like he's not simple. I think there's a change in the situation. Let's go and take a look. If something goes wrong, we'll be the ones to suffer. What's the rush?" I said no need, so there's no need. If something goes wrong, I'll take responsibility. Chapter 45. In the 7th District, it was completely quiet. None of the prison slaves dared to speak because they had already hidden far away like locusts. In the fierce battle, just now, they all saw that their heads were directly blown up by the young man. Countless amounts of blood spilled all over the ground. A generation of prison slaves had died just like that. Yangwu was still standing on the same spot. The little hay dog on his shoulder was softly whining, as if it was telling all the prison slaves here that they would be in charge of the 7th District in the future. Yangwu looked at the corpse of Black Gorilla that was blown up by him and sighed softly. "Don't be so arrogant when you get to hell." After saying that, he went to pick up Black Gorilla's iron rod and walked towards a direction. Su Jiahua, who was in that direction, was so scared that her face turned pale. She was already heavily injured and could not escape quickly like the other prison slaves. When she saw Yangwu coming over, she could not care less about covering her blood-stained chest. She knelt down and wailed, "Please spare my life, master. I'm willing to serve you like a cow or a horse." Su Jiahua didn't forget to tear apart the tattered clothes on her upper body. She couldn't wait to reveal her ample bosom before she was willing to give up. Yangwu ignored her and said indifferently, "I'll temporarily let you be the head of the 7th District. Do you have the ability to do so?" "What?" Su Jiahua was instantly dumbfounded. She wondered if she had heard wrongly. You will be the head of the 7th district. Yang Wu said calmly again. No. Young master, please do it. Su Jiaohua stuttered. Go and clean up the situation. In the future, you'll be my representative. If you can't do it, I'll get someone else to do it. Yang Wu waved his hand at Su Jiaohua and said. Then, he ignored Su Jiaohua and walked toward the peak where Black Gorilla was originally. Su Jiaohua looked at the tall figure walking away step by step. She covered her tears and knelt on the ground. She did not dare to get up for a long time. Yang Wu walked up the mountain. When he reached the peak, he spat out a mouthful of blood and sat down dejectedly. His face was much paler than before. He had just fought with Black Gorilla with all his strength. He had used the dragon turtle sea-turning technique to completely suppress Black Gorilla. However, Black Gorilla's absolute beast instincts were aroused, and it still hit him before it died, causing him to be heavily injured again. Little Black let out a few low cries, feeling sorry for Yang Wu. Yang Wu smiled bitterly and said to Blackie, "It's okay. I have an immortal body. I'll be fine soon." He sat cross-legged on the mountain peak and began to fully recover from his injuries, completely ignoring everything else. Mountain Prison's courtyard. Wang Jiuchong was warmly received by Lai Feng. After devouring a lot of wolf demon meat, his blood qi had recovered a little. Lai Feng also gave him some old medicine to help him recover. Wang Jiuchong did not refuse and asked for a quiet room to meditate and recover. Wang Jiuchong was a shrewd person. He knew very well that Lai Feng wanted to please him not only because of his strength, but also because he wanted him to owe him a favor. Unfortunately, he was a heartless person. Once he recovered, he would naturally leave. He was already giving them face by not killing them. Meng Helong and the others were the flying eagle cavalry of the great Xia dynasty. They did not dare to interact too much with Wang Jiuchong. At the same time, they had already sent people back to report this matter to their commander. They also contacted the great general of the Barbarian Suppression Army, hoping that the great general could help to prevent Wang Jiuchong from turning his back on them. As for Wan Lanxin, she was wholeheartedly taking care of Wan Tianlong. As long as her father was well, she would have the right to speak here. If something happened to her father, she would probably be reduced to an ordinary prison chief. Zhang Xiong and a few other trusted subordinates were guarding Wan Tianlong. They all believed that Wan Tianlong would recover soon. Wan Lanxin was still worried about Yang Wu. Now that Yang Wu's identity had been exposed by Lai Xing, she did not dare to take care of Yang Wu openly. She already hated Lai Xing to the core. Wan Lanxin was practicing her spear in her courtyard. Her movements were light and graceful, but the power of the spear was domineering and fierce. Bursts of light flashed, shocking the courtyard. When she finished practicing a set of spear techniques, a servant came to report. After Wan Lanxin heard the servant's report, her beautiful eyes were like ice. She shouted, "Lai Xing, if anything happens to Brother Wu, I will kill you." After saying that, she picked up her spear and put on her armor, preparing to rush to the 7th district. At this moment, Zhang Xiong walked over and called out, "Miss, the warden wants you to go in." Wan Lanxin hesitated for a moment, but still went in to check on her father's condition. Wan Tianlong was sitting cross-legged on the bed. His qi and blood were obviously much better than before. Obviously, his life was no longer in danger. "Lanxin, you don't have to worry about Yang Wu's matter." Wan Tianlong saw his daughter come in, and the first thing he said was this. Wan Lanxin's eyes narrowed. She resolutely replied, "Why? He just saved your life." "So what? He offended the prince, the emperor's younger brother. The Yang clan has been destroyed. If you get too close to him, I'm afraid I won't be able to be the warden anymore." Wan Tianlong faintly said. After pausing for a moment, he advised, "If you really want what's good for him, you should control your emotions. When father gets better, you can at least take care of him in prison. Now, that father is like this, some people want to seize power. Yang Wu is just a pawn for them to test father. If you really do something out of line, you and I can retire and return to our hometown." Wan Lanxin was shocked. She tenderly said, "Father's contributions in the mountain prison are clear for all to see. Who would dare to harm father?" To put it nicely, your father is the warden of the mountain prison. But to put it more harshly, father is just the warden of a remote place. What kind of power can I have? As long as the imperial court gives an order, father will have to listen to it. Wan Tianlong revealed a helpless expression. After pausing for a moment, he said, Meng Helong is Yang Jinnan's sworn brother. He rushed here because of Yang Wu. With him here, it's better than you. Even if Lai Feng wants Yang Wu's life, he will have to think twice. But little brother Wu has been sent to the 7th region. Wan Lanxin unwillingly replied. So what? He was able to save me from the blood pit. He must have the ability to protect himself. Who knows, he might be able to redeem himself one day and get rid of his status as a prison slave. Wouldn't that be the best of both worlds for you? Wan Tianlong said. This time, Wan Lanxin did not know how to respond. She asked herself in her heart, is everything really like what her father said? News of what happened in the 7th region still spread. Li Ziying received the news immediately. As the warden of the 8th region, which was adjacent to the 7th region, he ordered people to pay attention to what happened in the 7th region. Originally, he thought that Yang Wu would be played to death by Black Gorilla. Who knew that Black Gorilla would be killed by Yang Wu? More than 100 prison slaves were killed or injured. This was definitely one of the worst things that happened in the mountain prison in recent years. Li Ziying wanted to bring people to kill Yang Wu immediately. However, the warden of the 7th region stopped him and did not allow him to interfere with the matters of the 7th region. Even when Li Ziying mentioned his father's name, the warden of the 7th region did not care. He said that this matter had been ordered by the warden and no one was allowed to interfere. Li Ziying could only leave unwillingly and complain to Meng Helong again. This was because he had followed Meng Helong's instructions to arrange for Yang Wu to be sent to the 7th region. Meng Helong's position was not inferior to Wan Tianlong's. In fact, his position was even higher. Li Ziying felt that if Meng Helong were to appear, Yang Wu would definitely die without a burial place. Unfortunately, he was rebuffed again. Meng Helong did not meet him. Li Ziying did not dare to act rashly. He could only return to complain to his father. Lai Feng originally thought that he had a chance to become the warden of the warden. However, it was a pity that his dream had come to naught. This matter made him very unhappy. He really wanted to kill Wan Tianlong on the spot. Right now, Wang Jiucheng was a big variable. He really did not dare to act rashly. He only hoped that Wan Tianlong would seek revenge on Wang Jiucheng and be killed by Wang Jiucheng. After hearing his son's complaints, Lai Feng said with a look of disappointment, Ziying, when will you become more mature and sensible? You are the warden of a region. How can you make things difficult for a prison slave? This is beneath your dignity. Father, he is not an ordinary prison slave, Li Ziying replied, unhappily. Of course, Yang Jinnan's son is not ordinary. However, he has offended His Royal Highness. Only death awaits him. Even if he occupies the 7th region and becomes the boss of the prison slaves, is still insignificant. In the future, it will be even more difficult for him to survive in the Death Legion. Why are you competing with him? Lai Feng said. After a pause, he added, aren't you jealous that he is closer to Wan Lanxin? You are jealous. But if we use him well, we can pull Wan Tianlong down. Li Ziying said anxiously. If he can be pulled down by such a small matter, he is not Wan Tianlong. Are we just going to let it go? You don't have to worry about that, brat. Someone will deal with him. The most important thing now is that you go and serve that lord well. If he can accept you as his disciple, then even Wan Tianlong will have to respect you. Father, you're right. I'll go and serve that lord now. In a room where Meng Helong was, he was not alone. He was accompanied by a beautiful woman. This woman was one of his subordinates. Her name was Yaoing. Yaoing had already removed her armor and was only wearing a thin gauze dress. She nestled in Meng Helong's arms and kept touching his strong body. Her breath was like orchids, and her face was flushed. At first glance, it was obvious that the two of them had just been through a storm. Brother Meng, you take care of Yang so much. Why did you do this to Yang Wu? Yaoing blinked her beautiful eyes and asked. Meng Helong even told Yaoing such a private question. It was obvious how important Yaoing was to him. After Meng Helong grabbed Yao Ying's full breasts, he chuckled and said, Yang Wu was born as a literary star. Even if he encountered this disaster, he will definitely be able to rise again in the future. He will definitely be a ruler of the country. Although Yang Wu is talented, he is far from being comparable. The main point is that Yang Wu is Yang Wen's weakness. As long as Yang Wu is alive, he will affect Yang Wu's growth. Therefore, I can only sacrifice Yang Wu to help Yang Wen grow up quickly. So Brother Meng chose the top scholar, Yang Wen. If it were me, I would do the same. You just need to serve me well. Don't ask about other things in the future. I will not treat you badly. Chapter 46. Wolf Smoke Mountain Prison, District 7. A bare-chested youth sat cross-legged on a bare rock on a mountain peak, allowing the morning dew to fall on his body. The temperature in the mountains was always the lowest between midnight and dawn. This naked youth was actually not afraid of the cold. It was truly an eye-opener. The most surprising thing was that there was a little hay dog lying on the youth's shoulder. The little hay dog was also not afraid of the cold and was obediently napping on the youth's shoulder. Who else could this youth be but Yang Wu? In yesterday's battle, he had used all his strength and was seriously injured. But now, not only had his injuries recovered, his strength had also increased by a lot. He had opened a total of 81 acupoints and was getting closer and closer to the 108 acupoints. As long as he opened the 108 acupoints, he would reach the realm of a high-ranking warrior and form a small circulation. His mystical chi would be mobilized faster, and his combat strength would rise to another level. Taking a closer look, the dew that fell on Yang Wu's body did not come naturally. Some of it was absorbed by him from other directions. After these dew drops fell on his body, the bone-chilling water was completely absorbed by his pores. This astonishing suction power was the work of the sovereign 9 mysteries formula. This supreme formula had been upgraded by the pre-existence mystical essence Qi and became even more powerful. Yang Wu could clearly feel the power of this formula. If he could collect the other 8 types of mystical essence Qi, his success would be beyond his imagination. Yang Wu did not think too much about it for now. His current situation was not good. What he did in District 7 would definitely be spread immediately. As for those who wanted his life, they would not sit by and watch him go on like this. He had to think of a way to deal with them. The morning dew gradually decreased, and the coldness dissipated. The sun rose from the east, and purple air came from the east. Yang Wu was like a saint descending. His body was plated with a thin layer of purple light. This purple light was directly absorbed into his body. His peach core dantian was like a sweet spring and swallowed it in an instant. Traces of purple air rose from his 1,000 pores. Yang Wu was also affected. His entire person had an indescribable noble aura. This strand of purple air was much more than the one he had absorbed before. The connected acupoints were all filled up by this purple air. The air swirls were like stars, strengthening his physique. After this battle, Yang Wu was very clear about the advantages he had. It was something that others could not compare to. First of all, the Xian Qi contained in his dantian was 10 times, or even 10 times more than his peers. Secondly, the Xian Qi had transformed into Xian Essence Qi. Its lethality was not something that ordinary Xian Qi could compare with. Lastly, the combination of the supreme 9 mysteries formula and the dragon turtle water suppression stance allowed him to continuously absorb water Xian Qi from the outside world. It would constantly replenish his Xian Qi and allow him to fight for a long time. As for his recovery ability, it was unparalleled. Even a king would be jealous of it. These were all his advantages. As long as he grasped these advantages well, it would not be long before he became a top warrior. The most important thing now was to increase his strength and protect himself. He also needed to accumulate enough red steel or as to get rid of his identity as a prison slave. Originally, he had hoped that Wan Lanxin or Meng Helong would help him. After yesterday's battle, he did not dare to have any extravagant hopes. It was more realistic to rely on himself. A slight sound of footsteps rang in his ears. A charming woman and a fat man appeared behind him. "Greetings, young master." The woman and the fat man knelt down together, and said respectfully. Yang Wu did not turn his head or say anything. He let the two of them kneel for a full 15 minutes. Then he said indifferently, "Get up." The two of them were sweating profusely, but they did not dare to show any dissatisfaction. After hearing the voice, they felt as if they had been pardoned. Most of the stone in their hearts had been lifted. Su Jiahua spoke first. "Young master, Fatty Dong and I cleaned up the 7th district together. Most people are convinced by you. We beat up those who spread rumors. I don't care about that. I only want the red steel ores." Yang Wu replied, "Young master, Black Gorilla has already accumulated 60,000 red steel ores. They are all in the stone house in the mountain peak. He only needs 40,000 more to reach 100,000. Su Jiahua replied. Fatty Dong said, "Other than the red steel ores that have to be handed in on time every day, he will accumulate 100,000 red steel ores in about 2 months. 2 months? That's so long." Yang Wu sighed softly. Now, he did not want to stay in a mountain prison for even a moment. He wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. The fastest it will take is a month and a half. Fatty Dong said awkwardly. "Is there no other way to increase the speed of accumulation?" Yang Wu asked. Fatty Dong did not dare to speak anymore. Su Jiahua hesitated for a moment before saying, "There is a way, but what? If you have something to say, just say it. I'm not as scary as you think." Before Black Gorilla died, he told me that the 7 prison slave bosses had an agreement that they could challenge each other. As long as they had enough red steel ores as the wager, the winner would get the other party's red steel ores. This method should allow young master to accumulate red steel ores faster. Su Jiahua said honestly, "There is such a thing? Tell me about it in detail." Yang Wu said with a hint of interest. Thus, Su Jiahua told Yang Wu everything he knew. It turned out that the 7 prison slave bosses had an agreement that the lower-ranked ones could challenge the higher-ranked ones once a month. Each time, the wager would be no less than 10,000 caddies of red steel ores. Whoever won would get the wager. Black Gorilla was ranked in the 7th division, and his combat power was ranked at the bottom. However, he was not much weaker than the 2 prison slave bosses in the 6th and 5th divisions. He had not challenged anyone because he wanted to make sufficient preparations. He wanted to win in one battle, and he did not want to become someone's stepping stone. Unfortunately, before he could challenge the higher-ranked ones, he was killed by Yang Wu. There were still 7 days until the next challenge. As long as Yang Wu had enough strength, he could challenge the boss of the 6th division. "Is there a limit to the wager?" Yang Wu asked. "There is no limit as long as the other party can take it." Su Jiahua replied. "That's good." Yang Wu's eyes lit up. He then waved his hand and said, "You can leave now. Tell the people below that I don't have time to deal with them. I won't dig up old scores. Just hand over the red steel ores on time." "Yes, young master." Su Jiahua and Fatty Dong replied honestly. Fatty Dong left, but Su Jiahua did not. She boldly approached Yang Wu and puffed out her chest. She blushed and said coquettishly, "Young master, if you need it, I can serve you well." Then, Su Jiahua took off the simple prison clothes on her body, revealing her delicate body that had not aged yet. It was like a flower swaying in the wind. It was a different kind of charm. Su Jiahua wasn't a virtuous woman to begin with. She had been sent to the mountain prison. If she didn't have some skills, she would have long been reduced to a man's plaything, just like the other female prison slaves. She had hooked up with Black Gorilla as a means of self-protection. It was better than being possessed by other weak men. As for Yang Wu, apart from his powerful combat strength, he was also so young and handsome. Even an old woman like her liked him from the bottom of her heart. If she could be with him, it would be even more comfortable than being with Gu. Unfortunately, Yang Wu did not even look at her. He waved his hand and said, "You're old enough to be my mother. Please conduct yourself with dignity." Su Jiahua felt as if her heart had been ruthlessly pierced by a crowbar. She was so ashamed that she almost fainted. Su Jiahua did not have the face to say anything more. She put on her prison clothes and quickly went down the mountain with her face covered. When Su Jiahua left, Yang Wu let out a soft sigh. There really aren't many young men with such strong willpower like this Viscount. If anyone saw the bulging part of Yang Wu's lower body, they would probably feel embarrassed for him. He was already swollen like this, yet he still had such strong willpower. Come on, it was not Yang Wu's fault. He was just a young and vigorous boy. He didn't know if he was still a virgin. After he had sex with Wan Lanxin that night, he still didn't know what was going on. Compared with Wan Lanxin, Su Jiao was like the earth, and Wan Lanxin was like the sky. They couldn't be compared at all, so it was normal for him to have such a reaction. Just as Yang Wu was about to get up and practice his battle skills, he glanced at a corner. His eyes twitched slightly. He did not know when, but an old prison slave had appeared not far from him. Yang Wu's divine court's senses were not to be underestimated. If someone approached within a radius of a few miles, it would be difficult for them to escape his eyes and ears. But now, this old prison slave actually did not notice him within a radius of 30 feet. This really scared him. This old prison slave was looking at Yang Wu with a smile on his face. His face was wrinkled and rough like tree bark. He bared his old yellow teeth, as if he had not washed them for many years. He held a broken bamboo fan in his hand and gently waved it, looking somewhat comical. This was not enough to make Yang Wu feel strange. What made him feel strange was that the thick chain under the old prison slave's feet was broken. It did not look like it was broken by a sharp weapon, but by a struggle. There were uneven marks on the chain. Little Hei, who was lying on Yang Wu's shoulder, also opened her eyes and looked at the old prison slave. Her canine eyes glowed with a dim light, but she quickly closed them again and went back to sleep. "You are?" Yang Wu asked the old prison slave. "I am Sun Rue, a mountain counselor." The old prison slave replied proudly while waving his broken bamboo fan. "Sun Rue, you seem to be fated with my little Hei." Yang Wu replied with a smile. "Wrong. It's Sun from Jiahu, Sun from Sun Long, not Sun from Sun Xian." The old prison slave retorted. "It's all the same." Yang Wu replied. Then he asked, "Do you have any business with me?" "There are 3 matters. I don't know which one you want to hear first." Sun Rue kept him in suspense. "What's the difference between 1 matter and 3? "There's a big difference. The meaning is completely different." "Oh, then you'd better not tell me." "Don't. This counselor knows the heavens above and the earth below. I know how to arrange military formations and strategize. There's nothing I can't do," Sun Rue boasted. Before he could finish, Yang Wu could not take it anymore and interrupted him. "Master Sun, you're bragging so much about yourself. Aren't you getting impatient?" Sun Rue grinned with his old yellow teeth again and said, "Of course not. I'm telling the truth." "Then why were you captured and sent to the mountain prison?" "Well, wasn't it because I presented the 24 volumes of governance and salvation to the imperial court? It was too amazing. Some people were jealous, so I was sent here. I think I heard that someone presented the 24 volumes of misfortune to the imperial court 10 years ago. You weren't the one who was convicted of spreading lies, were you?" "Ahem, those treacherous officials know nothing." Chapter 47. Sun Rue, a mountain counselor. It was not wrong for him to report his background. At that time, he did not look like this. He was half old and half immortal, with a feather fan and a silk headband. He looked wise and far-sighted. He was chosen by the imperial court's prime minister Song and was included in the think tank to give him advice and suggestions to consolidate the court. Sun Rue felt that he was full of wisdom, so he wrote the 24 volumes of the theory of national calamity. Each volume described the injustice and dissatisfaction of the current imperial court. He was even secretly put on the imperial court's desk. That day, the imperial palace was shaken. Prime Minister Song was scared out of his wits and almost lost his position. In the end, Sun Rue, the main culprit, should have been beheaded. However, the emperor gave him a way out and sent him to the mountain prison, where he was tortured to death. This was 10 years ago. Yang Wu also heard his brother, who was the top scorer in the imperial examination, mention these 24 volumes from time to time. He held them in high esteem. He thought that once these 24 volumes were used by the imperial court, it would definitely increase the country's strength. The people would live and work in peace and prosperity. At that time, his brother also sighed that if he met Sun Rue, he would definitely worship him as his teacher to learn the way of governing the country. Yang Wu and his brother Yang were very close. They were only 1 year apart. His brother had heard of the 24 volumes of the theory of national calamity and Sun Rue's name more than once. However, he did not expect that Sun Rue would appear in front of him and look like this. He really could not wrap his head around it. Yang Wu stood up and bowed to Sun Rue. He said with great respect, "So you are Senior Sun Rue, who wrote the 24 volumes of the theory of national calamity." Yang Wu was rude. This time, it was Sun Rue's turn to be surprised. He said, "You really know me? My brother Yang Wen is your admirer. He once said that if he was born 10 years earlier, he would definitely worship you as his teacher." Yang Wu said very sincerely. Sun Rue laughed extremely happily, and his old yellow teeth couldn't even close. He gave a thumbs up and said, "Ha, your younger brother has good taste. Just based on this, I'll temporarily take him as a nominal disciple. After I assess his character in the future, I'll consider whether or not to pass on my mantle to him. This old man's talent in worldly affairs isn't something that an ordinary person can learn. My brother is the top scorer in the liberal arts exam this year. He is also the top scorer in all subjects in the past 100 years. Yang Wu was proud. "You brat, you're even better at bragging than I am. Why don't you say that you're the top scholar in the martial arts exam?" Sun Rue picked at his ears with a look of disbelief. "You don't say. When I become an adult at 18, I will definitely become the top scorer in the martial arts exam. Then, the Yang family will be good at both the pen and the sword. We will be famous in Great Xia," Yang Wu said with a look of yearning. He had dreamed of becoming the top scorer since he was young. He was talented, but he was not as good as those true martial arts geniuses. Take Wan Lanxin, for example. When she was his age, she had reached the realm of a warrior with her own talent. He, on the other hand, was only a top-level martial soldier. Now, everything was different. He had the supreme 9 mysteries formula, the dragon turtle sea-turning technique, and an immortal body. He was destined to rise. As long as he could get rid of his current status, it would not be difficult for him to become the top scorer in the martial arts exam in 2 years. "That's enough, kid. We're all prisoners here. Let's just talk about the things prisoners say." Sun Rue interrupted Yang Wu's daydream and said, "Kid, since you know my name, do you still want to hear about those 3 things? Come. Senior Sun, please tell me," Yang Wu said modestly. No matter what, this old man was someone his younger brother respected. He had to treat him with respect. He also wanted to hear what shocking things this old man had to say. Not bad. First of all, can you give this old man a bite of meat to try tonight? This old man hasn't eaten meat for many days, and my taste buds are about to explode," Sun Rue casually said as he sat down on the ground. When Yang Wu heard this, he almost fainted. Why did he feel that the old man in front of him was a hidden master? How come he couldn't even eat a mouthful of meat now? "The second thing is, can you let me stay in Black Gorilla Stone House for a few days? This old man has been living in the open for many years and has 1 foot in the coffin. So I want to have a good sleep." Sun Rue didn't care whether Yang Wu agreed or not and said to himself. Yang Wu didn't wait for Sun Rue to say the third thing and said, "I say, Senior Sun, is this what you want to talk about?" Of course. Eating, drinking, shitting, and sleeping are important things in life. "What else can I talk about?" Sun Rue said matter-of-factly. Yang Wu wanted to faint. He waved his hand and said, "I promise you, I still have a third thing to say." Sun Rue said anxiously, "You have 3 things. Do you want a beauty in a pot of wine? You want to drink wine and sing to the moon?" Yang Wu said on behalf of Sun Rue. "How did you know?" Sun Rue said with a trace of embarrassment. "Your wretched appearance is written all over your face. How could I not know?" Yang Wu said as he patted his forehead. He paused for a moment and said, "I can find you a woman, but wine is out of the question for now. You little brat are much more straightforward than He Ge. Not bad. This old man isn't someone who wants a yard after getting an inch. You will be rewarded in the future," Sun Rue said with a smile. Yang Wu didn't take Sun Rui's words to heart. He felt that this little old man didn't have the slightest demeanor of an expert. It made him seriously wonder if his little brother thought too highly of this person. Yang Wu no longer paid attention to Sun Rui. He picked up the crowbar and began to practice martial arts. Yesterday's battle was incomparably satisfying. He had a new understanding of the rainstorm spear art. Every move had reached the large success stage. The power he could display was already quite strong. He wasn't satisfied with this. He wanted to cultivate the rainstorm spear art to the perfect stage. That way, his battle strength would reach a new level. Dark clouds cover the sky. Torrential rain like arrows. Swift and decisive. Yang Wu performed the rainstorm spear art again and again. His movements were very skillful. His qi was abundant, and his power was extraordinary. Sun Rui didn't leave. He sat not far away and watched Yang Wu stabbing, picking, and sweeping. There was a bit of interest in his old eyes. After a while, he couldn't help but say, "This kind of fancy posture can only scare those useless guys." Yang Wu didn't seem to hear him and continued to practice according to his steps. Sun Rui still didn't feel that he was disturbing him. He said again, "The power of the rainstorm is focused on speed, and ferocity. If you practice like this, you won't be able to display the best combat skills." What a pity. Yang Wu couldn't help but be a little affected. His movements became a little sluggish. Sun Rui seemed to be addicted to talking. He said again in a deep voice, "Move like a rabbit, power like thunder, torrential rain like a storm." Yang Wu didn't want to listen to Sun Rui's words, but after listening, he had a kind of realization. It was as if the clouds were dispelled and the moon was revealed. He understood the true essence of the rainstorm spear art. Move like a fleeing rabbit, move like thunder. Yang Wu muttered under his breath, and his movements changed drastically. He was really like a fleeing rabbit, and his momentum was like thunder. The iron crowbar transformed into a spear, and the crowbar was like lightning. The crowbar's radiance was dazzling, and its power rose by more than a level. Swoosh, swoosh. The crowbar kept making strange sounds. Qi filled the place. Stones and dust flew everywhere. Wu Dong's figure was getting faster and faster. It was almost impossible to see his every move. Sun Rui's old eyes flashed with appreciation. A gourd flask appeared in his hand. He opened the lid, raised his head, and drank a mouthful of fragrant wine. He sighed softly in his heart. This child is worth teaching. At this time, little Hay came out of nowhere and pounced towards the gourd. Its movements were as fast as lightning, and it was impossible to react in time. However, Sun Rui didn't know if he sensed it or if it was a coincidence, but he just happened to withdraw the gourd back into his chest, causing little Hay to miss. Woof woof. Little Hay barked in dissatisfaction at not being able to pounce on the gourd. Its front paws scratched the ground a few times. Its canine eyes stared unblinkingly at the gourd in Sun Rui's arms. Its tongue kept sticking out, and it looked like it was drooling. "You little guy are quite intelligent. You know how wonderful this old man's gourd wine is. However, I don't have much in stock. I can't let you waste it," Sun Rui said to Little Hay as he kept his gourd tightly. Little Hay ignored Sun Rui and continued to pounce towards him. It was determined to snatch the gourd wine. When Sun Rui saw that Little Hay was coming at him fiercely, he got up and dodged. "Little Hay dog, don't mess around. My old bones can't take it." Little Hay increased its speed and jumped high into the air. It almost tore Sun Rui's prison clothes apart, but it was still a little too late. Woof woof. Little Hay seemed to be unconvinced. After barking a few times, it continued to increase its speed and pounce. "Little guy, don't think that an old man like me is easy to bully. I can fly in the sky and burrow into the ground. If you really piss me off, I'll roast you and eat you." Sun Rui hurriedly parried its attacks. Every move he made looked very wretched. There were a few times when he was almost caught by Little Hay, but he was just a hair's breadth away from being caught. Little Hay really didn't know how to retaliate. Sun Rui didn't seem to be having a good time either. He bent over and panted heavily. It looked like he didn't have much strength left. Little Hay seized the opportunity and jumped with all its might, pouncing towards Sun Rue to bite him. This time, Sun Rue really couldn't dodge. Little Hay bit his buttocks, causing him to scream in pain. "Little Hay dog, let go of me. No, let go of my mouth. Otherwise, this old man really won't go easy on you." Sun Rue continuously shook his buttocks and tried to hit it back with both hands. However, Little Hay refused to let go, causing him great pain. Yang Wu, who had been practicing the stormy spear technique, was disturbed. He quickly stopped and yelled at Little Hay. "Little Hay, what are you doing? Let go of your family's elder." Sun Rue responded, Yes, yes. Little Hay dog, let go of my mouth." "Wait, when did I become this Little Hay dog's elder? Brat, you're scolding this old man in a roundabout way." Yang Wu revealed an embarrassed expression and said, "Cough, cough. Senior Sun, it was a slip of the tongue. Little Hay, let go of my mouth. Senior Sun is our benefactor. We can't be rude to him." Indeed, Yang Wu had just received a few pointers from Sun Rue. He had vaguely touched upon the perfect stage of the stormy spear technique. As long as he practiced diligently a few times, he should be able to achieve it. He couldn't help but look at Sun Rue in a new light. However, when he saw Sun Rue being bitten by a dog, his impression of Sun Rue returned to its original state. Under Yang Wu's persuasion, Little Hay finally let go of Sun Rue. Sun Rue's buttocks were red. It was so painful that he covered his buttocks and kept scolding Little Hay. When he saw Little Hay's angry expression again, he quickly stopped. Regardless of whether Sun Rue was a wise man or an expert, Yang Wu decided to treat this little old man well. He let Su Jiahua serve him, let him stay in He Ji's stone house, and prepared food for him. He couldn't be more considerate. In any case, this little old man was someone his younger brother respected. It could be considered as a good karma for his younger brother. Su Jiahua's heart was bitter. She wanted to serve Yang Wu, but she didn't want to serve this rotten old man with a mouth full of yellow teeth. Unfortunately, she didn't have a choice. Sometimes this kind of helpless obedience might not be a disaster. It might even be a blessing. Chapter 48. The Wolf Smoke Mountain Range was named after the wolf, so it was naturally the territory occupied by wolf demons. There were countless wolf demons here, but most of them were ordinary wolf demons. It was because of this that the Grand Xia dynasty was able to occupy some of the mountain ridges to build the mountain prison. If one went further in, there were powerful wolf demons. Even kings would have to be careful when entering or even die. Ever since the top wolf General Lang Cha had been defeated by one Tianlong and the others, Lang Cha had been holding a grudge. He had ordered his subordinates to attack the mountain prison from time to time, and the prison guards and prison slaves had died unnatural deaths. Apart from this, Lang Cha was heading towards another Wolf King's territory. He wanted to persuade the Wolf King to attack the mountain prison. In front of a mountain full of golden leaf trees, the golden leaves here were dazzling. It was a glistening yellow color that was incomparably dazzling and beautiful. When a mountain breeze blew past, it made a hua-hua sound, causing people to be dazzled and their spirits to be refreshed. Lang Cha knelt in front of a cave, respectfully waiting, not daring to show the slightest bit of impatience. In the cave, a pair of golden eyes flickered. "Lang Cha, you came to disturb this king. Do you know your crime?" Lang Cha knows his crime. "Please forgive me, king." Lang Cha lowered his head and said, "This little one has an urgent matter to ask king to come out of seclusion, to seek justice for my clan's Lang heir and exterminate those lowly humans." A dissatisfied voice came from the bridal chamber. "Do you know that my clan has an agreement with the humans? Do you want me to break this agreement?" "This little one does not dare, but the humans have gone too far. They dug out the king's treasure, and I brought this little one to ask for a share, to offer it to king. In the end, they killed thousands of my people. This Lang Cha is incompetent. Please punish me, king." Lang Cha said while kneeling. "Are you sure it was the king's treasure?" The voice in the bridal chamber became anxious. "I can't be wrong. I can already smell the scent of the earth spirit spring, and there's also a strange xianqi. Once I absorb it, king's strength will rise to another level." Lang Cha said again, "You bastard. You only came to tell me now. The Wolf King in the bridal chamber shouted in dissatisfaction and rushed out, biting at Lang Cha with his huge wolf head. Lang Cha revealed a look of fear, not daring to make the slightest movement. The Golden Wolf King bit Lang Cha's neck and fiercely flung him away. Lang Cha's neck flesh was missing and blood flowed nonstop. Lang Cha's Wolf King. Lang Cha's Wolf King. The Wolf King, Lang Jia, was a true Wolf King. His body was 5 meters tall, and his fur was golden. His limbs were muscular, and his head was ferocious. He was the king of the nearby mountain range, and Lang Cha was one of his subordinates. You want to take Wang Zong for yourself and break through to the king level? Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Lang Jia glared at Lang Cha. Lang Cha was so scared that his body was trembling. He kept begging for mercy. Please forgive me, my king. Please forgive me. Take me to see if Wang Zong is still around. If he isn't, you'll become my food. Lang Jia shouted angrily. Oh! Lang Jia roared at the sky, causing the forest to shake. The birds that were perched on the trees were startled and flew high into the sky. Some of the small demons quickly hid themselves. The wolf demons that were hiding in the caves walked out one by one. They all howled in response and chased after Lang Jia. An hour later, nearly 10,000 monsters surrounded the mountain prison. The sound of wolf howls was endless. The prison guards and prison slaves were shocked. Lai Feng was temporarily taking care of the mountain wolves for Wan Tianlong. When he saw a large number of monsters rushing over, he was in a bad mood. Damn it, the monsters are attacking again. The blood pit is no longer there. What do they want? Lai Feng cursed. He rode on his ash wolf and began to summon his subordinates. He immediately found Meng Helong and the others and asked them to help the mountain prison. Meng Helong and the others were duty-bound. They rode on the ash wolf and flew into the air to check on the situation of the monsters. When they saw the huge number of wolf demons, their faces became extremely solemn. Especially when they saw the strong Wolf King with shiny golden fur, they became even more panicked. Meng Helong was extremely calm. He shouted at Lang Cha, "Your Excellency Wolf King, why are you attacking the territory of the great Xia dynasty?" Meng Helong wasn't from the mountain prison, but as the commander of the Ash Eagle Squad, he was also an official of the imperial court. Before he left, he had the responsibility to protect the peace of the mountain prison. If something happened to the mountain prison during this time, he would be held accountable. Lang Jie raised his cold eyes and spoke in human language. "Those little eagles, get down here for this king." Oh, whoa. Lang Cha's demonic aura soared into the sky. Meng Helong and the other eagles screamed in panic. They couldn't help but wobble and fall from the sky. Yu. These 8 eagles were all demon generals. Their strength was not to be underestimated. However, the Demon King's aura was invincible. They didn't fly very high. After being roared, they couldn't withstand the soaring demonic aura. Meng Helong and the others jumped off the backs of the eagles just as they were about to fall to the ground. They didn't want to fall to the ground. At this moment, Lai Feng rushed over with thousands of wardens. Lai Feng's scalp went numb when he saw the dense pack of monsters. He ordered crossbows ready. In the next moment, 3,000 wardens with crossbows and arrows in their hands stepped forward and aimed at the monsters. As long as Lai Feng gave the order, they would definitely shoot at the first moment. The greatest power of these crossbow squads was their long-range shooting. Their attacks were ferocious. Ordinary demon soldiers couldn't withstand them. Even demon generals would find it difficult to deal with them. This was the key to Wan Tianlong's ability to defeat the pack of monsters. "Do you humans want to die?" Lang Cha said coldly, showing his sinister teeth. At this moment, the other monsters' eyes shone with a fierce light. They roared in shock. Oh, whoa. In an instant, tens of thousands of wolves roared in unison. The terrifying howls of the wolves frightened the wardens so much that their limbs trembled. A sense of fear rose in their hearts. If it was just a pack of monsters below the general realm, they wouldn't be afraid. However, this was a pack of monsters led by the Wolf King. The gap between them was still very big. They couldn't help but be afraid. "Wolf King, What are you trying to do? Our barbarian army isn't far from here. If you really want to attack our mountain prison, the barbarian army will come to clean up your nest. You won't have it easy either. Lai Feng abandoned Song Lang and summoned his courage to shout at the Wolf King. Hand over the Wang Zong you found. Otherwise, we'll flatten your mountain prison today. Lang Cha replied domineeringly. There's no Wang Zong in the blood pit. There's only Lord Wang of our human race. He's also a king. Right now, he's resting here. If you attack and alarm him, I'm afraid you won't have it easy either. Lai Feng said, Is that so? Then I'll see how powerful the king of your human race is. Oh, whoa. Lang Cha responded and let out an attack howl. Tens of thousands of wolves ran together and attacked the mountain wolves. You've gone too far. Shoot. It wasn't Lai Feng's first time dealing with monsters. When he saw the monsters running over, he gave the order to counterattack. In an instant, bows that blotted out the sky and covered the earth shot wildly at the monsters. In the blink of an eye, many monsters were killed by these crossbows. These were extremely powerful long-range fighters. If it weren't for such a team, how could the Wolf Smoke Mountain prison withstand the attacks of the monsters? There were many monsters. They didn't gather in one direction and wait to be shot. Some powerful monsters leaped to the left and right, dodging the crossbows and pouncing on the wardens. Some of the wardens who couldn't dodge in time were bitten to death on the spot. Blood splattered everywhere. The battle between humans and wolves began again. The Wolf King sat behind the pack of wolves and wasn't in a hurry to attack. Just like that, it allowed the other monsters to charge and break through the enemy lines. As the Wolf King, it had its own unique pride. When facing the weak, it would never lower itself to attack easily. Lai Feng couldn't compare to Lang Cha. When the monsters charged, he couldn't raise his sword and attack. He couldn't let the monsters break through the cross-mountain prison's defense line. If a large number of prison slaves escaped, he would be blamed. Meng Helong and the others naturally couldn't just stand by and watch. They joined the battle and killed the monsters. Meng Helong was the commander of the 8 of them. He was extremely powerful and was on the verge of becoming a king. The long sword in his hand slashed out repeatedly. Wave after wave cut through the air and cut the monsters in half. Blood splattered all over the ground. Today, I'll try to kill a king. Meng Helong's gaze locked on a Lang Cha. He had the heart to become a king. If he didn't even have the courage to challenge a king, he was destined to stay where he was. Meng Helong killed his way toward the Wolf King. His battle intent was at its peak. As the 3rd commander of the Flying Eagle Cavalry, he had experienced many life and death battles. Today, he was going to fight to the death and learn the king's domain. There was no lack of powerful wolf generals on the monster's side. Their killing ability was incomparably powerful. Many prison guards died under their claws. The human race was very different from the monster race. The human race's physique wasn't as strong as the monster race's, but the human race's intelligence was far superior to the monster race's. The monster race's combat weapons were also incomparable. As for the monster race, they were born ferocious and had amazing physiques. Ordinary weapons couldn't hurt them. There was a clear advantage between the two races. Judging from the battle situation, the prison guards killed many monsters with their bows. They also used the second team to fight in close range. They still had a slight advantage. However, the monsters outnumbered the prison guards. Once they got close, they were stronger than the prison guards. In the midst of 10,000 monsters, the 3,000 bows were finally broken through. Thousands of monsters fell to the ground, and 500 people were bitten to death. The battle was extremely intense. After watching the battle for a while, Cruel Wolf finally showed a look of impatience. It let out a roar and began to charge. Its speed was very fast, like a golden rainbow, drawing a long trail in the air as it broke through the battlefield and ran directly toward District 8. Wherever the Cruel Wolf passed, the jailer's attacks were useless. Under the pressure of the powerful demon Qi, some of the jailers died on the spot. No one could stop the Cruel Wolf at all. Meng Helong had already locked on a Lang Cha. He immediately went up and shouted, "Wolf King, I, Meng Helong, will fight you." Chapter 49. Between the various mountain prisons, All the prison slaves felt the terrifying howls of the wolves, which made them extremely nervous. The wolf demons are attacking again. What's going on? The last time the wolf demons attacked, I heard that a few thousand people died. We should hurry up and escape. Otherwise, we'll all become wolf food. Most of the prison guards have been transferred away. If we don't escape now, when will we? Yes, staying here is also a dead end. If we escape now, we might still have a chance of survival. Some of the prison slaves began to get restless. They were unwilling to be trapped here for the rest of their lives and began to escape. For a moment, the prison field was in chaos. The prison field had transferred most of its forces to fight against the wolf demons. The remaining prison guards were too weak. How could they withstand this riot? Wan Tianlong, who had been in a state of healing, was alarmed. He called his daughter Wan Lanxin, who was heavily injured, to go into battle. "Father, you haven't fully recovered yet," Wan Lanxin said worriedly. "It doesn't matter if I'm well or not. If I don't go out to maintain the situation now, the prison field will be in chaos. Father will also be in trouble." Wan Tianlong replied with a pale face. Wan Tianlong sat on the ox demon. He was fully armored and his spirit had recovered a lot. He held his battle weapon and shouted to the few people in the courtyard, "Follow me to battle." Those people were all Wan Tianlong's trusted subordinates. They all knelt down and shouted in unison, "We are willing to follow you to battle." Wan Tianlong turned around and said to Wan Lanxin, "I'll leave the prison areas to you. Don't be soft-hearted when necessary." Wan Lanxin looked at her determined father and nodded heavily. "Father, don't worry. I won't let you down." Wan Tianlong smiled with satisfaction and led his people to the battlefield. As the prison head, even if he was heavily injured, there was no reason for him to retreat. Otherwise, he would be finished as the prison head. Wan Lanxin looked at her father, who was walking away. Her beautiful eyes were filled with admiration. This was her father. He was devoted to the public and never retreated. She held her spear and quickly rode on the leopard, beginning to patrol the prison field. In a nearby courtyard, Wang Jiucheng was still meditating quietly. Wang Jiucheng was a powerful king. He was not as simple as a normal king. After being trapped for many years, he had lost his essence blood and his body was severely damaged. His cultivation level had dropped quite a bit. It would not be easy for him to recover. Although he had devoured many old herbs, spirit herbs, demon meat, and the low-grade Xian spirit stones, he only recovered 30% of his strength. In a few more days, he would be able to recover to 50% of his strength. Unless he could obtain a rare king medicine, he might be able to recover to 70% of his strength. If he wanted to completely return to his peak, he would need a long time to slowly recuperate. How could Wang Jiucheng not know about the arrival of the 10,000 wolves? It was just that he didn't pay attention to the outside world and didn't have any plans to make a move. Previously, he had only consumed human blood to maintain his vitality. He didn't necessarily need to consume external objects to recover his strength. Now, he didn't need to do so. After I return to the sect and completely recover my strength, I must find the evil child king and kill him. Wang Jiucheng swore in his heart. Wang Jiucheng did not continue to stay. He walked out of the room and prepared to leave this troublesome place. He had already sensed the appearance of a demon king. Although he was not afraid, it was not the right time for him to make a big fuss. I wonder how that interesting kid is doing. It would be good if I could take him as a disciple. He has some talent, and his brain is passable. Wang Jiucheng thought of a young man and muttered to himself. Then, he walked toward the 68th district. However, he had only taken a few steps when Li Xing scrambled to appear in front of him. He knelt down and said, "Lord Wang, a demon king is attacking. It mistakenly thinks that Wang Zong is in the blood pit and wants to massacre my mountain prison." Wang Jiucheng ignored Li Xing and continued walking forward. In his eyes, the life and death of others had nothing to do with him. Li Xing saw that Wang Jiucheng was indifferent, so he took out a jade box and said, "Lord Wang, I have a superior spiritual pill here. I don't ask that you kill the Wolf King. I only ask that you take me as your disciple. Even if it's just a nominal disciple, I will have no regrets." This healing pill was given to him by his father, Lai Feng. He had never found a chance to give it to Wang Jiucheng. If he did not give it to Wang Jiucheng now, he would not have a chance once Wang Jiucheng left. Wang Jiucheng looked back. With a wave of his hand, the jade box was already in his hand. He opened it and saw a pill with strong medicinal effects appear in front of him. He was slightly delighted and swallowed the pill. Then, he looked at Li Xing and said indifferently, "You seem a little old to be my disciple at your age." Li Xing instantly had the urge to stand up and fight Wang Jiucheng to the death. How was he old? He was less than 30 years old, but now he was already in the general realm. No matter where he was considered an outstanding young man. This guy actually said that he was old. He was as annoying as the guy who called him uncle. Li Xing did not dare to challenge a king. He just silently lowered his head and did not dare to anger this king. Otherwise, he would definitely die. Wang Jiucheng took a few steps forward. Li Xing's face was ashen. He felt that this superior spiritual pill was wasted. At this moment, Wang Jiucheng's voice floated over. "Then you could be a nominal disciple for the time being and do some chores for me. If you serve me well, I don't mind teaching you a few things." "Thank you, master." Li Xing cried tears of joy and kowtowed. For Li Xing, it was really a silver lining. On the battlefield, Meng Helong and Lang Jie were fighting. Meng Helong felt that with his battle strength, even if he could not defeat Lang Jie, he could resist for a while. Unfortunately, he was wrong. The king's power was invincible. Before his attacks fell on Lang Jie, they were all bounced back. He could not hurt Lang Jie at all. However, after Lang Jie simply clawed at Meng Helong, it was like a golden rainbow falling down, cutting through the air and grabbing at Meng Helong. Meng Helong's armor was torn apart. Blood oozed out from it, and Meng Helong grimaced in pain. If he had not retreated quickly, this claw would have easily cut open his stomach. "With your little strength, you dare to provoke me? You're more like an appetizer," Lang Jie said coldly. Once again, he pounced on Meng Helong. His powerful mouth was about to bite down on Meng Helong's head. Meng Helong felt the terrifying demonic energy attacking him, immobilizing him. However, there was no fear on his face. Instead, he looked crazy and shouted, "I will use your king's aura to help me reach the next level. I will not hesitate even if I die." Meng Helong raised his battle strength again and again. The Xian armor he condensed became stronger and stronger, showing signs of forming wings. However, it was still not enough. Nevertheless, it was enough for him to break free from Lang Jie's restraints. He slashed out with a stunning sword, forcing Lang Jie to dodge. At this moment, Fei Ying and the other 6 rushed over from the side. They formed a formation with Meng Helong and surrounded Lang Jie. These 8 people were at least at the high level of the human general realm. When they combined, they formed a powerful formation. The domineering formation power was already qualified to be at the Battle King realm. This also gave Lai Feng, the deputy warden, some space to lead the prison guards to attack the other wolf demons. However, there were too many wolf demons, and they were attacking different parts of the mountain prison. This time, they were much fiercer than last time. There were also many powerful wolf generals. If this continued, the mountain prison would be destroyed. Lai Feng felt that after this battle, the wolf smoke prison would only exist in name. He might even die here. I only hope that Xing can get what he wants. Then, I can die without regrets. Lai Feng thought to himself. The hearts of parents in the world were truly pitiful. Just as the prison guard were about to collapse, a loud and clear voice rang out. "Those who invade the mountain prison will be killed." Warden Wan Tianlong had arrived. Wan Tianlong rode the bull demon and charged into the pack of wolves. His combat weapons killed the wolf demons one after another. He did not look like he was injured at all. When the prison guards saw Wan Tianlong, their auras shook. They all shouted in unison, "Those who invade the mountain prison will be killed." In the eyes of the prison guards, Wan Tianlong was their pillar of support. Lai Feng's prestige was far from enough. Lai Feng looked at the armored Wan Tianlong and felt bitter in his heart. "Oh, Lang Jie howled furiously. The other wolves followed suit. The sound of their howls was deafening. The wolves split up and attacked, devouring anyone they saw. It seemed like they were determined to devour all the humans in the mountain prison. The prison slaves in each district panicked. They started to flee from the mountain prison. Wan Lanxin led 30 prison guards to patrol the districts. She killed a dozen prison slaves on the spot and yelled, "Kill anyone who dares to escape." Wan Lanxin was clad in armor. Her sexy and slender figure could not be concealed. She held a battle spear and sat on a leopard. She looked valiant and charming. Some of the prison slaves did not dare to move recklessly when they saw such a delicate officer killing people without batting an eyelid. Wan Lanxin was worried about Yang Wu, who was assigned to District 7. She did not stay any longer and led the way to District 7. Along the way, many prison slaves died under her spear. She might be a woman, but she had the instincts of a man who killed people with a sword. Apart from the prison slaves that escaped, she also killed the wolf demons that came running over. Her combat skills were on par with an intermediate general realm cultivator. Soon, she led her people to District 7. The 7th district was close to the 8th district and was also the closest to the battlefield. Thus, the number of demon wolves that came here was the highest. There were dozens of them. Many prison slaves had become food for the demon wolves. Just as all the prison slaves were running for their lives, a young man with a little hay dog on his shoulder killed 8 wolf demons with his bare hands. This calmed the fear of many prison slaves. When Wan Lanxin arrived at the 7th zone, she was just in time to see an extremely shocking scene. A bare-chested young man was pressing a warrior-level wolf demon under his feet with both of his hands, and using the thick chain under his feet to twist the wolf's head into 2 halves. The young man was covered in blood. The mystic cicada robe appeared on his body. He looked like a growing dragon. Chapter 50. The young Yang Wu, who was wrongly imprisoned, should have been in a situation where he would be tortured to death. However, major events happened one after another in the prison, which gave Yang Wu a chance to breathe. He had already taken the opportunity to become stronger. As long as he had the chance, he would get rid of the identity of a prison slave. He would never stay here forever. Now that the wolf demon had rushed into the 7th district, Yang Wu didn't want to pay attention to it. However, when he saw so many prison slaves being bitten to death, he couldn't stand it anymore. In addition, he also wanted to use the wolf demon to temper his current strength. That was why Wan Lanxin saw the scene. Wan Lanxin was not shocked by Yang Wu's combat strength. She was just happy that he was still alive and well. After Yang Wu killed the wolf demon, he felt that someone was watching him. He turned his head and looked in the direction of Wan Lanxin. The beauty riding on a leopard made him a little absent-minded. Among his companions who grew up with him, he liked the little slug who had followed him since he was a child the most. In addition, he listened to the words of this sister in front of him the most. She was forthright, enthusiastic, and generous, like a big sister. More importantly, he liked to look at her perfectly developed body. For him, who used to be a little kid, it was a fatal temptation. Wan Lanxin didn't have time to talk to Yang Wu. There were still wolf demons scattered around to devour people. She raised her spear and shouted, "Kill the wolf demons." Wan Lanxin took the lead. She urged the leopard to quickly assassinate the nearest wolf demon. Yang Wu didn't want Wan Lanxin to be hurt. Although she was in the general realm, the number of wolf demons was increasing. He had to share some of the pressure for her. He shouted at the prison slaves who were fleeing in all directions. Who can work together to kill the wolf demons? I, Yang Wu, will take all the food for 3 consecutive nights. Yang Wu had the black gorilla's red steel ore, and the red steel ore could be exchanged for food. This was a great temptation for any prison slave. Although most of the prison slaves in Division 7 were martial soldiers, it was not easy to dig out a piece of crimson steel rock in this area. It was not something that could be solved by just having martial strength. It wasn't easy for Su Jiahua to become the leader of the puppets, and she didn't want to die like this. Naturally, she immediately responded to Yang Wu's words. Everyone, listen to the young master. Tonight, we can roast wolf meat. At the mention of roasted wolf meat, the eyes of the prison slaves shone brightly. They stopped running away, raised their crowbars, and surrounded the demon wolf. "Kill these beasts, and we'll have meat to eat tonight." "That's right. We have so many people. Why should we be afraid of them? Let's kill them." In the blink of an eye, the prison slaves split into several groups and charged towards the demon wolf. They had already accepted their fate, so what was there to be afraid of? These prison slaves had indeed greatly reduced the pressure on Wan Lanxin and the prison guards. Yang Wu wasn't idle either. He charged towards Wan Lanxin. Even if her cultivation level was higher than his, he was still a man. Wasn't it natural for a man to protect a woman? More and more demon wolves appeared. A powerful wolf general appeared. It had obviously reached the intermediate demon general level. It continuously bit and killed several prison slaves, and 2 prison guards were torn apart by it. After killing 2 demon wolves, Wan Lanxin charged towards the wolf general. The wolf general spat out a green light from its mouth. It charged towards Wan Lanxin like a sharp blade. The power of the green light was extremely domineering. The spear in Wan Lanxin's hand glowed with a blue light. She moved elegantly and met the wolf general head-on. 3 consecutive strikes from the spear shattered the intermediate wolf general's attack. Wan Lanxin was only at the beginner demon general level. It was already quite impressive for her to be able to fight against the intermediate demon general. Wan Lanxin's delicate arms were trembling. She thought to herself, "It's really not easy to fight someone who's at a higher cultivation level. Looks like I'll have to fight to the death." She gritted her teeth and jumped up from the leopard's body. She used the combat weapon in her hand to press down on the intermediate demon general that was charging towards her. Wan Lanxin charged at the wolf general again and again with her combat weapon. The leopard wasn't idle either. It had been waiting for an opportunity to strike. Once it had the chance, it would attack the wolf general and successfully pin it down. Yang Wu was getting closer and closer to Wan Lanxin. Those demon wolves that were charging towards him couldn't even last a single strike from his palms. They were all killed or severely injured by his palms. Right now, his strength was unimaginably dense. It seemed that those who weren't at the general level wouldn't be able to cause much harm to him. Before a demon wolf that was trying to bite his buttocks could bite him, he already had eyes at the back of his head. He sensed the demon wolf's sneak attack. He struck out with a dragon swings its tail palm print with a spiraling force, sending the profound essence chi into the demon wolf's mouth. The demon wolf's mouth was bleeding and its teeth were broken. Woo-woo. The demon wolf fell to the ground. It kept twitching and screaming. It had already lost its ability to fight. It was enough to show how terrifying Yang Wu's palm strength was. Damn the chains. Without these restraints, my speed can be increased by at least 2 or 3 steps. Yang Wu cursed in his heart and continued to speed up. When he finally got close to Wan Lanxin, he saw that her shoulder had been scratched by the wolf general. The spear in her hand fell to the ground. The situation became critical. Yang Wu was furious. He rushed out like a lion pouncing on a rabbit. He actually used all his strength to hold the wolf general tightly. The strength of his palms was at its maximum. His anger and fighting spirit soared to the sky. He roared, "You hurt Sister Lanxin. You deserve to die." In Yang Wu's peach stone dantian, the mist of the 1,000 orifices surged. The 12 standard meridians, 1 extraordinary meridian, and 81 acupoints burst out at the same time. The primordial profound essence chi gathered in his palms, forming the locking wolf momentum. He strangled the wolf general and rolled it to the side. Yang Wu's arms were wrapped around the wolf general's body. He really wanted to strangle the wolf general to death. The wolf general's strength was very strong, not to mention that it was a middle-level wolf general. It kept releasing its demon chi, trying to shake Yang Wu away. Its front claws kept grabbing at the air, clasping the ground. It wanted to stabilize its body and eat Yang Wu alive. Unfortunately, Yang Wu had already let go of it, allowing it to crash into a sharp-edged rock. Bang! The wolf general slammed heavily into the rock, causing it to break into pieces. However, the wolf general did not suffer any serious injuries. The wolf general quickly got up and rushed towards Yang Wu angrily. It opened its bloody mouth, wanting to swallow this damned human whole. "Brother Wu, get out of the way." Wan Lanqing had already picked up her war spear. Seeing that Yang Wu had just gotten up and had no time to save the spear, she shouted in alarm. Yang Wu seemed not to have heard her. He stepped on the ground, and the demon chi on his body floated. His cicada robe solidified, and his momentum reached its peak. There seemed to be a vague shadow floating behind him. His eyes were like lightning as he stared at Lang Zhan, who was running toward him. One of his hands was like a dragon fist, and the other was like a turtle palm. The fist and the palm were combined together, and he struck out with all his strength. The light blue power formed a force of almost 2 feet and collided with the wolf general. Dragon Turtle Sea-Turning Technique. This was Yang Wu's strongest move, and also his trump card. The combat strength he exerted had already surpassed the strength of a top warrior, and reached the power of a general realm in one fell swoop. This overbearing power contained the power of the first embryonic chi. The power exploded and sent the wolf general flying. Some wounds appeared on its body, and blood quickly seeped out. Yang Wu was not able to kill the wolf general. When he was about to attack again, the wolf general had already spat out a green rainbow and rushed straight to his chest, shattering his cicada robe and causing blood to spurt out. Wan Lanqing did not have time to feel sorry for Yang Wu. She had already exerted all her strength from the side. The tip of her spear directly stabbed the injured wolf general. A bloody hole appeared, and the wolf general cried out in pain. The leopard bit from the other side, and the woman and her mount attacked the wolf general from both sides. The wolf general's life was strong enough that it could still continue to kill. It knocked Wan Lanqing away and bit off several pieces of the leopard's flesh. If this went on, Wan Lanqing and the leopard would be swallowed alive. Yang Wu, on the other hand, was rapidly recovering from his injuries. Like an unkillable cockroach, he once again stood up tenaciously. Again and again, he mobilized the aura in his body. The mysterious water chi underground and the mysterious chi of heaven and earth around him constantly seeped into his body. He did not care about accumulating strength and rushed over again. Once again, he struck out with the Dragon Turtle Sea-Turning skill. Its power did not decrease, but increased, and it already somewhat resembled the prototype of the Sky-Turning skill. Yang Wu's body was like stepping on water without leaving a trace, and his arms were like dragon turtles swimming. 2 light blue forces combined and intertwined, locked on the wolf general, and attacked without reservation. The wolf general felt a strong threat. It originally wanted to bite the leopard, but now it had no time to care about the leopard. It spat out a green light from its mouth and collided with Yang Wu's attack, making bursts of explosive sounds. "I must kill you," Yang Wu roared fiercely and kept waving his arms. The majestic chi of profound essence in his peach core dantian was constantly drawn out. Wave after wave of attacks seemed to have no limit, which was extremely shocking. Yang Wu's peach core dantian was different from that of ordinary people. The power it contained was far more than that of a martial artist in the same realm. It was not difficult for it to be comparable to that of a martial artist in the general realm. Moreover, his highest 9 mysteries formula and dragon turtle water-suppressing stance allowed him to constantly absorb the chi of the outside world during the battle, which was his biggest reliance to prolong the battle. Yang Wu planned to kill the wolf general with 1 blow. If he couldn't kill it with 1 blow, then he would attack it twice, or even 3 times, until he exhausted all his strength. He would risk his life to kill this wolf general. The wolf general's blood was aroused, and it fought with Yang Wu. Its strength was above Yang Wu's, but it had been injured repeatedly, and its strength had decreased. Moreover, it couldn't fight for a long time like Yang Wu. The green light it spat out was weakening, and in the end it could only use its physical body to withstand the attacks. Its head hit Yang Wu's lower abdomen, and Yang Wu's fist and palm hit its eyes. Yang Wu's stomach burst, and the wolf's head was smashed by Yang Wu. Yang Wu was lying on the rocks with blood all over his body. All his strength had been completely exhausted. Seeing another wolf demon pouncing on him, he couldn't dodge and could only close his eyes and wait for death. A war spear flashed past like a rainbow and pierced the wolf demon's neck, nailing it to a rock and killing it instantly. A burst of fragrance assailed his nostrils, and Yang Wu fell into a warm and soft embrace. Chapter 51. Without another word, Wan Lanxin stuffed a healing pill into Yang Wu's mouth, fearing that something would happen to Yang Wu. She worriedly said, "Little brother Wu, don't be so impulsive in the future." Now, she couldn't tell what kind of feeling she had towards Yang Wu. Was it brother and sister, or something else? In short, looking at his current appearance, her heart was pierced by a knife. Yang Wu swallowed the healing pill, and the profound formula in his body quickly circulated. The medicinal effect of the pill was quickly dispersing, quickly reducing his injuries. He was originally able to automatically recover, so with the help of the pill, he would naturally recover faster. "You're my sister. I don't want to see anything happen to you. Help me up, I'll be fine soon," Yang Wu said with a sincere smile. "Silly little brother," Wan Lanxin said with tears in her eyes, and then helped Yang Wu up. After Yang Wu sat up, he entered a state of meditation and said to her, "Go and deal with your matters. Don't worry about me. I'm just weak." Wan Lanxin hesitated for a moment and said, "All right, then take good care of yourself. Don't try to be brave anymore." Wan Lanxin was also injured, but she still had her duty. How could she rest? Even if she was injured, she still had to drive away and kill the wolf demons. Fortunately, under Yang Wu's encouragement, the 7th District's prison slaves seemed to have been injected with chicken blood and worked together to kill the wolf demons. Many of the prison slaves were bitten by the wolf demons, but the majority of the wolf demons were still surrounded and killed. The prison slaves unknowingly shared the burden of Wan Lanxin, but unfortunately, there were too many wolf demons, and they appeared one after another, giving a feeling that they couldn't kill them all. At this moment, Yang Wu had already stood up once again, and the number of acupoints in his body had once again broken through 8, reaching 89 in one fell swoop. His battle prowess did not decrease, but instead increased. This kind of growth speed and physique could be said to be terrifying. As long as he could open 108 acupoints, he could become an advanced warrior. He wanted to break through this step as much as possible during this training. With the help of the healing elixirs and his own strength, his injuries had already recovered by 70%. He picked up the crowbar and recalled Sun Rue's advice to use the wolf demon to increase the power of the rainstorm spear art. Swift, fast, fierce, moves like a cunning rabbit, and moves like thunder, Yang Wu shouted loudly. The speed of the rainstorm spear technique in his hands became more and more ferocious. The power of the rainstorm spear technique also became more and more powerful. The more Yang Wu fought, the more ferocious he became. The crowbar in his hand seemed to have transformed into a long spear. The demonic wolves were all dead souls in his hands. His crowbar was bent and stained with wolf blood. It could be seen how intense the battle was. Yang Wu's usage of the torrential storm spear art was already at his fingertips. He had finally broken through to the perfect stage, and his battle prowess had once again increased by a lot. The practicality of a warrior's combat skills would give him a great advantage when facing an enemy. Not only could it make his attacks varied, but it could also increase his strength and defeat the enemy. When Yang Wu threw away the crowbar and prepared to practice the whirling wave palm, he suddenly heard a series of wolf howls. The terrifying sound waves of the battle continued to shock the surroundings. The prison guards, prison slaves, and the demonic wolves were so frightened that they trembled in fear. The power of the wolves was fully displayed. The formation of Meng Heilong's group of 8 was broken. 2 of them were ruthlessly bitten to death. 3 of them had either lost an arm or a leg. They were all seriously injured. The other 3 were also injured. No one would be able to escape unscathed. Meng Heilong no longer thought about how to break through to the King realm. Even if he had a broken royal weapon in his hand, he could only flee with a frightened expression. Survival was more important. Wan Tianlong's injuries had not fully recovered. It was already good enough that he could fight. How could he compete with the Wolf King? Seeing that the wolves were gaining the upper hand and that the mountain prison was about to be massacred, a human king suddenly appeared. No one could see what this king looked like. He condensed his celestial force into a pair of wings. He was like a rock descending from the sky, suppressing the wolf king from the sky. This human king's celestial force was astonishing. He was like a god of war. His celestial force was extremely dazzling. His combat strength was also very strong. The moment he attacked, it was earth-shattering. Many mountain rocks exploded, withered trees and weeds were destroyed. Many demonic wolves were suppressed and died on the spot. If Lang Jie had not blocked the human king's attack in advance, more demonic wolves would have died. Human king, how dare you kill my son? You're courting death. Lang Jie roared at the sky. As he roared, some prison guards who had not retreated far enough were shaken to the point of vomiting blood. The powerful demonic aura even twisted a dozen prison guards who were already seriously injured into a pool of blood. This was clearly Lang Jie's revenge. Many prison guards were so scared that their faces turned pale. Little wolf, take your wolves and retreat. Otherwise, kill them all and roast them to eat. The human king said with a faintly discernible voice. The human king's tone was frivolous, but no one dared to doubt his strength. When a person entered the earth's sea, he would become a king in the sky. He could transform into a pair of profound wings to fly. Who among those who could become a king did not have astonishing combat strength? However, this human king's tone was a little arrogant. He actually called Lang Jie Little Wolf. This was clearly not giving Lang Jie any face. Sure enough, Lang Jie was furious. He condensed his celestial force into a pair of wings and charged into the air to fight fiercely with the human king. I'll tear you apart alive. Lang Jie's vicious aura soared into the sky. His claws transformed into sharp blades and slashed down madly. The air was torn apart by his claws. The powerful demonic aura carried the sharpness of gold celestial force. Anyone who came into contact with it would die. The human king flapped his profound wings and moved like lightning, dodging Lang Jie's attack. At the same time, a fist condensed like a mountain and charged towards Lang Jie. The terrifying force swept up the profound chi in all directions, causing the sky to explode. The two kings fought fiercely in the air. Not many people could see the situation above clearly. They could only vaguely see the entanglement between the profound chi and demonic aura. The winner of the battle between the two kings would determine which side the victory belonged to. It must be that senior who made a move. Great! Lai Feng looked up to the sky and exclaimed. In the prison field, he felt that only Wang Jiucheng was at the king realm. He guessed that the figure above was none other than him. Wan Tianlong frowned and did not say anything. He was already planning a countermeasure in his heart. If it was really as Lai Feng said, that it was the fellow who came out of the blood pit, this did not seem to be good news for him. Meng Helong disregarded his injuries and watched the battle. His eyes were filled with desire. He hoped that one day he could take that step as soon as possible and fly into the sky like them to fight. In one direction, Wang Jiucheng was about to leave with Li Xing. However, after seeing that there were humans, he brought Li Xing to hide and watch the battle. They are really powerful. Li Xing could not help but sigh softly. Wang Jiucheng snorted discontentedly. When I recover to my peak state, I will kill them like clay chickens and pottery dogs. Li Xing hurriedly flattered. Yes, yes. Master, you are the most powerful. The battle between the human king and the wolf king was very fast. The wolf king was not a match for the human king. The human king ruthlessly smashed the wolf king into the 7th district. This time, the prison slaves in the 7th district were completely panicking. The human king could not help but exclaim softly, "Oh no, why did this beast get beaten there?" The human king swooped down, and his wings turned into blades that strangled Lang Jie. He did not give Lang Jie a chance to kill again. As for Yang Wu and Wan Lanxin, they were near Lang Jie. It was too late for them to escape. Lang Jie had already locked onto them and said coldly, "This king wants to eat people to vent his anger." The wolf king leaped and dodged the human king's wings. He took the lead and bit at Wan Lanxin and the prison guards beside her. Wan Lanxin's face was as pale as snow. Leopard was so frightened that his legs went limp and he could not move at all. The other prison guards were so frightened that they fell to the ground. Yellow and white things were coming out of their mouths. When a wolf king approached, who would be able to withstand it? A young man rushed over and stood in front of Wan Lanxin, as if he didn't care about his own life. His tall and straight figure was so resolute and unyielding. "If you want to eat my sister, you'll have to eat me first." Yang Wu's eyes were filled with determination as he shouted at Lang Jie. "Brother Wu, get out of the way!" Wan Lanxin cried out involuntarily. Lang Jie looked at Yang Wu. There was no pity in his merciless eyes. His bloodthirsty fangs had already enveloped him. Woof woof. At some point, a little hay dog appeared beside the youth. Its fur was taut, and its eyes were wide open as it barked at the Golden Wolf King. The sound did not have any power. It could even be said that it was a little childish. Compared to the wolf's howl, it was a far cry. However, the sound was like thunder in Lang Jie's ears. It caused him to stop abruptly. He retracted his demonic aura and did not dare to bite the youth and the others. It was also at this moment that the human king's attack came again, and Lang Jie was sent flying with a fierce blast. Dust flew everywhere as the force of the attack attacked. The youth's entire body was in pain for being hit by the dust and gravel. However, he still stood firmly on the spot, protecting the woman behind him. Cruel Wolf was heavily injured and did not dare to act rashly. After it let out a cry of surprise, it stopped fighting the human king. Instead, it turned its head to look in the direction of the young man. Its gaze did not land on the young man, but on the little black dog on the young man's shoulder. With a hint of fear, it quickly fled. If the Wolf King wanted to escape, who could stop it? The human king seemed to have realized something. He looked back at the youth and shook his head gently. Then, he flapped his wings and chased after the Wolf King. Since the Wolf King had fled, the other wolf demons did not dare to stay. They frantically retreated, not daring to stay any longer. The prison guards came to their senses and chased after the wolf demons. The Wolf King was forced to retreat by the human king. "Let's kill all these wolf demons and avenge our dead companions." "That's right, kill them. Otherwise, more of us will die if they attack again." A fierce battle quietly came to an end, but the mountain prison was already in a sorry state. The human king disappeared, but Wang Jiuqiong appeared and killed a few wolf generals. He tore them apart and devoured them alive, causing the prison guards to believe that the human king was Wang Jiuqiong. Just like that, Wang Jiuqiong became the savior of the mountain prison. Under a withered pine tree, an old man drank wine and sang, lying drunk on the old pine tree, leisurely and carefree. Looking at the smoke of battle, looking at the vicissitudes of life, racial grievances hard to stop. Chapter 52. After Wan Lang attacked the mountain prison, more than half of the prison soldiers were killed or injured. Many prison slaves died as well. It could be said that this was the worst situation in the past 10 years. Meng Helong and the others took the opportunity to report this matter to the imperial court, so they left in a hurry. Meng Helong had wanted to take Wang Zong, but Wang Jiuqiong was a living Wang Zong. He didn't have the guts to take him down. As for Yang Wu, he had completely forgotten about him. He didn't take him hard at all. Wan Tianlong knew that after this, the mountain prison would probably be reshuffled. The imperial court would definitely arrange for new people to come. He didn't know if he could continue to be the warden. On the other hand, Lai Feng and Lai Xing were the ones being chased. It was because Lai Xing had a human king as his master. How glorious was that? Following this, many wardens would definitely defect to Lai Feng. Wan Tianlong's power would definitely be damaged. Wan Tianlong didn't have the mind to care about these things for now. As long as he was the warden, he had to manage the prison well. He ordered the merging of the prison districts from the 68th district to the 17th district. Reducing the number of districts also reduced labor and made it easier to manage. This was also a last resort. The number of prison guards was greatly reduced, and it would take some time for the imperial court to send troops over. As for the barbarian suppression army, they had been suffering losses for many years. It would be even more difficult to borrow troops from them. In this way, the districts nearby were merged. For example, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th districts were merged. For example, the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th districts were merged. In this way, the prison slaves in every 4 districts could move around with each other. New conflicts were bound to occur. However, after the Great Battle, the prison's management became stricter. No one dared to cause trouble in this place. Everyone calmly endured the days after the storm. Yang Wu, who was in the 7th district, didn't care about these things. After the battle with Wan Lanxin, he separated. As the warden's daughter, Wan Lanxin shouldn't be too entangled with him. Moreover, there were people who wanted to use this opportunity to cause trouble. Yang Wu and Wan Lanxin weren't stupid. They became much more cautious. Furthermore, they had witnessed the Wolf King's demeanor. They were still in shock and needed some time to calm down. When Wan Lanxin separated from Yang Wu, she still firmly promised that she would help Yang Wu get rid of his identity as a prison slave as soon as possible. Yang Wu believed that Wan Lanxin had done a lot for him, but he didn't expect too much. He was clear about his situation, and only by relying on himself would he have a chance. Ever since the Wolf King was forced to leave, Yang Wu had been in a state of meditation. Firstly, he wanted to completely recover from his injuries. Secondly, he wanted to use his gains from the battle with the Wolf King to break through his acupoints once more. This was to ensure that he could continue to improve. 3 days passed. Yang Wu had been sitting outside the stone house, standing on the dragon turtle water suppressing stance. The Sovereign 9 Mysteries formula was constantly running. Ever since he had absorbed the prenatal mysterious essence, the Sovereign 9 Mysteries formula could no longer be run under his control. If he deliberately ran it, the results would be even more powerful. The ground where Yang Wu was standing now had a puddle of water. No matter who saw it, they would be amazed. How could there be water on this dry mountaintop? After 3 days of meditation, not only had Yang Wu's injuries healed, but he had also broken through 99 acupoints in one fell swoop. He was only 9 acupoints away from the 108 acupoints. The chi acupoints in his body were like spirals. The power they contained was boundless and powerful, not inferior to any top warrior. In these 3 days, he had broken through 10 acupoints. If others were to find out, they would be shocked. However, he wasn't complacent. If he didn't need to use the power he absorbed to heal his injuries, he should be able to break through to the rank of a senior warrior. Little hey dog, you're here to steal my wine again. Get out of my way. This is all I have. I can't let you ruin it. Hey, that's enough. If you keep chasing me, don't blame me for not being polite. Don't think that I can't deal with you with my old arms and legs. I'm an expert who can capture dragons with my hands and trample tigers with my feet. Ouch, you're biting my butt again. It hurts. Yang Wu boy, come and save me. Do you still want to find a teacher for your brother? The only person who could stay in Yang Wu's stone house was Sun Rue, who was being chased and bitten by a dog. Sun Rue told Yang Wu 3 things. One was that he wanted to eat meat. The second was that he wanted to live in the stone house. And the third was that he wanted to find a beautiful woman to serve him. Yang Wu didn't go back on his words. After killing the wolf demon, he put away the wolf general and several wolf soldiers' corpses. He skinned them and dried them, leaving a lot of meat for Sun Rue. In addition, he let him live in the stone house and let Su Jiahua serve him. Sun Rue, this old man, didn't refuse. From time to time, he would take some wolf meat and roast it to eat. He also let Su Jiahua massage his legs and back. From time to time, he would sneak an attack on her, but causing her to scream repeatedly. Yang Wu ignored Sun Rue's actions. He half believed and half doubted that Sun Rue was half an expert. He hoped that this old man, who was admired by his younger brother, could have some skills so that he didn't think so highly of him in prison. This old man was most afraid of little Hay stealing his gourd wine. He could protect his gourd wine every time, but he couldn't protect his butt. He would often be bitten until his butt was blooming. Yang Wu had no choice but to stop cultivating. He walked into the stone house and said to Sun Rue, who was being bitten by little Hay, "Elder Sun, you've been drinking wine every day. I'm afraid you've already run out of wine. Just let little Hay smell it, and it'll give up. There's no need to keep pestering it. My gourd wine is hard to come by. How can I let a dog spoil it? Aya, Hurry up and tell it to let go, Sun Rue said while shaking his butt. All right, Little Hay, come back, Yang Wu called out to Little Hay. Little Hay was very obedient to Yang Wu's words. It let go of Sun Rue's, but it quickly jumped back onto Yang Wu's shoulder. Its gaze was still fixed on the gourd wine that Sun Rue was holding tightly too. Its tongue was constantly moving in and out of its mouth. It was obvious that it was very greedy for that wine. Yang Wu reached out to stroke Little Hay and comforted it. When we leave this place, I'll get you a few jars of old wine to try. Why care about his inferior wine? Woof woof. Little Hay barked in response. Sun Rue rubbed his butt and smiled. My gourd wine is a mortal wine. How can your mortal wine compare to it? Little Hay barked again and looked like it was going to pounce on the wine again. Sun Rue was so scared that he quickly slipped out of the stone house. He didn't forget to say, stay away from that black dog. Cherish your butt. Elder Sun, were you the human king? Yang Wu suddenly asked. Little Wu, you have a good eye. You actually knew that I was the human king? Sun Rue turned around and responded. Then, he straightened his back and replied in a rather smug manner. Yang Wu looked at Sun Rue's sloppy appearance and sighed softly. If you were the human king, you wouldn't be here. I was thinking too much. 3 days ago, during the battle between the human king and the wolf king, Yang Wu, like everyone else, couldn't see the human king's appearance clearly. However, he felt that the human king's voice was a little similar to Sun Rue's. That was why he asked this question. Little Wu, what's wrong with your eyes? How am I not the human king? I just didn't show my face, Sun Rue said angrily. When he saw Little Hay pounce on him again, his legs were like they were smeared with oil as he quickly fled. Yang Wu slapped his forehead. He couldn't be bothered to pay attention to Sun Rue and Little Hay. He walked down the mountain peak and called Su Jiahua over. Su Jiahua quickly appeared in front of him. She wore a simple prison uniform that revealed half of her chest. It was truly a spectacular sight. No wonder Sun Rue was often taken advantage of. Su Jiahua bowed and said sweetly, Young master, are you looking for me? Su Jiahua looked at this extraordinarily handsome young master. Her heart itched unbearably. She really wanted to spend the night with this young master, but it was a pity that this young master didn't fancy a withered flower like her. You said before that the 7th region can challenge the bosses of the first few regions. You can use crimson steel ores as the wager, right? Yang Wu asked. Su Jiahua nodded and said, Yes, young master. After a pause, she asked, Could it be that young master wants to challenge the higher-ups now? Yang Wu nodded lightly and said, That's right. Tell me about the bosses of the 6th and 5th regions. Su Jiahua didn't dare to hide anything. She reported everything she knew to Yang Wu. The boss of the 6th region, Zhou Shuilong, was also known as the One-Eyed Dragon. His strength wasn't any weaker than black gorillas. It was rumored that he loved to drink fresh blood. There were strange occurrences of prison slaves being sucked to death in the 6th region. The boss of the 5th region, Hunchback King Bajin, was an old prison slave who had been in the prison for more than 5 years. He had accumulated enough crimson steel ores a long time ago and could go to the Death Legion to clear his name. However, this guy didn't do so. Instead, he chose to continue living in the prison as if he wanted to die of old age here. According to Su Jiahua, these two people were both top-tier warriors. Hunchback King Bajin was already close to the human general realm. He was completely qualified to be in the top 3, but he didn't fight for it. Understand. Help me issue a challenge to both of them. I'll bet all the crimson steel ores I have. If they win, they'll take all the crimson steel ores. If they lose, they'll each get 20,000 crimson steel ores. Yang Wu said in a deep voice. Right now, he had 60,000 crimson steel ores. If he lost, it would be the same as losing all the wealth that Black Gorilla had left behind. If he won, he would be able to gather 100,000 crimson steel ores. Even if he had to pay 20,000 crimson steel ores more than the two of them combined, he didn't care. He was only afraid that the two of them wouldn't dare to accept the challenge at the same time. He wasn't being arrogant by doing this. After killing Black Gorilla and the intermediate wolf general, he had the confidence to deal with the two prison slave bosses. Young master, isn't this too hasty? You can just challenge one of them first. Su Jiahua said. She was afraid that if Yang Wu failed, she would be implicated again. Yang Wu waved his hand and said, "Go ahead and issue the challenge." Winning the Crimson Steel Ores was a must, but he wanted to continue training his battle strength. Once he left the prison, he would have to lead the Death Legion that had a death rate of 80% to atone for his crimes. If he didn't have enough strength, it would be difficult to come back alive from the battlefield. He didn't want to die on the battlefield because he still wanted to be reunited with his family. He still wanted to find his childhood sweetheart and have children with him. Chapter 53. Yang Wu challenged the 5th and 6th ranked prison slave bosses. This news spread like a gust of wind in the new 2nd District. Who is Yang Wu? How dare he challenge 2 bosses at the same time? Is he out his mind? That's something no other boss dares to do. I heard that he's the kid who killed Black Gorilla. Looks like he has some skills. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to do this. Does he really think he's a big shot? If those 2 bosses join hands, even the number 1 boss might not be able to defeat them easily. Who does Yang Wu think he is? We'll know in 2 days. I heard that the Death Legion will leave in half a month. Yang Wu must be in a hurry to leave. That's why he's doing this. Yang Wu's name spread like wildfire in the new 2nd District. Even if he died in battle, he would still be remembered by these prison slaves. Yang Wu did not pay any attention to these rumors. He was still practicing without a trace of harshness. The stormy spear art had completely entered the perfect stage. However, the torrential wave palm was still at the proficient stage. It would not be easy to enter the large success stage. In the past 2 days, in addition to practicing his combat skills, he also opened 6 more acupoints with the help of the Supreme 9 Mysteries formula and Dragon Turtle Water Suppression stance. He was only 1 step away from opening 108 acupoints. The night before the battle, Yang Wu and Sun Rue were roasting wolf meat. In fact, it was Su Jiahua who was roasting the meat for them. They were only responsible for eating. Su Jiahua cursed in her heart. How unmanly. Su Jiahua's cooking was good. Even without any seasoning, she could still roast the wolf meat until it was fragrant. Sun Rue said bluntly, "Come, little Woozy, little Hay, this old man will treat you to wolf meat. Don't be shy. Eat as much as you want." Yang Wu's face darkened every time he heard little Woozy. It was similar to how eunuchs called him. No one would be able to stand it, but this old man seemed to be addicted to it. As for little Hay, she couldn't take it anymore. She jumped over and bit Sun Rue. Sun Rue dodged left and right and shouted, "Little Hay dog, I'm telling you, don't bother me anymore. Otherwise, I'll roast you too." The more he spoke, the fiercer little Hay became. It was as if they were born to be enemies. They had never had a good time together. "Young master, here you go." Su Jiahua handed the barbecued meat to Yang Wu and said gently. Yang Wu took it and replied, "Thank you." He began to eat the wolf meat in large bites. The boundless energy contained within the meat was split apart by the profound art and slowly seeped into his flesh, strengthening his life force. Spirit demons were born with strong physiques. Eating them often could temper one's body and prolong one's life. This was not empty talk. If it was a powerful spirit demon, its meat would be a very good tonic. It could directly increase one's Xian Qi. Now, Yang Wu was eating wolf general meat, which contained a lot of energy. Being able to absorb a small amount was enough to strengthen his body. If it wasn't for his peach core dantian being too heaven-defying, absorbing this energy would be enough to increase his strength. Yang Wu ate a full 5 kilograms of wolf meat before he felt full. He then stood up and began to use the wave-splitting whirlpool palm. Waves of wind from his palms caused the air to crackle. The powerful whirlpool energy caused some of the nearby rocks to shatter. Su Jiahua couldn't help but applaud. In her eyes, this level of skill was very extraordinary. Sun Rue ignored little Hay, who was biting into his meat, and picked up a piece of barbecued meat. He then looked at Yang Wu with disdain and said, "Fancy moves." Su Jiahua felt it was unfair for Yang Wu and said, "You really don't have good eyesight. Young master's palm techniques have already reached perfection." "Little girl, what do you know? Look at him. Aside from the fact that his stance is a bit interesting, his other moves are like a monkey wielding a broadsword. It's completely messy and not worth mentioning. Sun Rue commented, "You rotten old man. The young master has spoiled you. You really want to go to the heavens?" Su Jiahua cried out in dissatisfaction. After serving this old man for the past few days, she already had complaints in her heart. Now, she took the opportunity to vent her anger. "Little girl, you really don't know anything. Look at his palm technique. It's originally a water Xian Qi palm technique. Water Xian Qi relies on borrowing force to attack force, using softness to overcome hardness. Now that he's blindly walking the path of hardness, how can he grasp the essence of the palm technique? It's just a waste of this palm technique." Sun Rue said as he picked his ear. Su Jiahua said, "If you have the ability, show me a set and let me see. Don't you feel tired sitting down and talking?" Sun Rue smiled and said, "Just take it that I'm talking nonsense. Come massage my legs. That little hay dog's bite hurts a lot." Su Jiahua turned a deaf ear to Sun Rue's words, but Yang Wu didn't. He listened carefully and began to ponder according to Sun Rue's words. He felt that Sun Rue's words were very reasonable. The wave-splitting palm was indeed a water Xian Qi palm technique. Yang Wu had always thought that this palm technique walked the path of hardness and fierceness. Now that he heard Sun Rue's words, he felt that there was indeed a problem with the direction of his cultivation. Therefore, he tried to change it. At the same time, he used the Dragon Turtle Sea turning technique to verify it. The Dragon Turtle Sea turning technique was also a water Xian Qi secret technique. It had long been imprinted in his mind. Yang Wu's palm technique was changing slowly, and his movements were slowing down. However, the rotating force was becoming more and more rapid. Faintly, there was an inexplicable flavor compared to before. Sun Rue looked at Yang Wu out of the corner of his eye. A faint smile appeared on his face as he muttered, "You're not too stupid." Yang Wu cultivated selflessly for 2 hours. The palm technique became more and more adept, and the palm force became stronger and stronger. It was as if the Xian Qi in his palm had formed a vortex with a powerful spiral force. When his palm landed on the rock, a palm print appeared on the rock and went straight through it. However, the rock didn't explode and shatter like before. Yang Wu stopped and looked at the rock seriously. Then he smiled and said, "There's strength in the softness, just as I thought." After a while, the rock naturally turned into a pile of powder. The palm technique had entered the stage of great success, and its power had reached a new level. Yang Wu wanted to thank Sun Rue, but found that the old man had already fallen asleep in the stone house. Yang Wu looked at Su Jiahua, who was sitting in a daze, and said, "Su Jiahua, serve Elder Sun well. You'll be rewarded." Su Jiahua thought that the reward was given by Yang Wu, so she immediately winked at him and said, "Thank you, young master." Yang Wu ignored Su Jiahua and waved at Little Hay. When Little Hay jumped onto his shoulder, he habitually stroked Little Hay's head and said, "Go and see what's wrong with Shou Ho and Little Man. You don't have to stay by my side all the time." Woof woof. Little Hay licked Yang Wu's palm and barked twice. Then she jumped down from Yang Wu's shoulder and quickly ran in the direction of District 68. Yang Wu looked up at the dark sky and murmured, "I hope you're all right. I'll definitely take you away with me. I'll keep my word." Yang Wu had never been so confident. All of this was because he had grown through fighting and killing. He already had the heart of a powerhouse. Night fell and the sun rose, signaling the arrival of a new day. After Yang Wu absorbed the purple aura that he had to absorb every day, he began to descend the mountain. At this moment, although he was chained up, he still carried an otherworldly aura. This caused Su Jiahua, who was following behind him, to reveal a mesmerized expression. After Yang Wu brought Su Jiahua down the mountain, Fatty Dong and dozens of other prison slaves respectfully greeted them. "Greetings, young master." In prison, everyone was a prison slave. Who would dare to call themselves young master? Only Yang Wu would dare to do so. From now on, you're all members of the Marquis Gang and no longer members of the Black Gorilla Gang. You must remember that in the near future, your boss will come. When that time comes, you must still be respectful to him. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Yang Wu calmly said to Fatty Dong and the others. Yes, young master. Everyone replied in unison. After witnessing Yang Wu's strength, they no longer dared to question his words. Who could fight hundreds of people alone? Who could kill a black guerrilla gang in one fell swoop? Who could fight a wolf general to the death? It was all done by this young man who had just turned 20 years old. This place that could trap prison slaves for their entire lives probably couldn't trap a young dragon like him. You all know about my situation. I'm preparing to challenge Wang Bajin and Zhou Shuilong. Do you all want to come along? Yang Wu asked the group of prison slaves. We'll follow young master. Fatty Dong and the other prison slaves responded. They all wanted to see if Yang Wu could really fight two people alone and become the new boss of the second district. If he really won, they would undoubtedly have an easy time. If he lost, they could just choose another follower. It wouldn't be too much of a loss. Yang Wu smiled and didn't stop them from following. The group of people majestically headed towards Wang Ba Jin's mountain. This time, the location of the challenge was set at Wang Ba Jin's territory. Who told him to be ranked higher than Yang Wu and Zhou Shuilong? Yang Wu and his group hurried along. Along the way, many prison slaves saw them and began to discuss spiritedly. Is the young man leading the group Yang Wu? Is he really the expert who killed the black gorilla with his small body? It should be him. He's quite handsome. I don't know what he did to be suppressed and imprisoned. What a pity. Yang Wu wants to challenge Boss Wang and Boss Long at the same time. This battle can't be missed. Let's hurry over and see. 1 against 2. He's digging his own grave. Yang Wu ignored the idle chatter and went all the way to Zhou Shuilong's territory. This was the original 6th district, which was 1 district higher than the 7th district. The prisoners here were stronger. Yang Wu was blocked here. There were 100 prison slaves blocking their way. Among them, 12 of them had a ferocious aura. At first glance, one could tell that they weren't good people. Su Jiahua stepped forward and negotiated. Gehu, what are you doing? Hurry up and make way for us. Gehu is the leader of this group of people. He was also one of the 12 warriors under Zhou Shuilong. He was a 40-year-old man with a tall and strong body. He had a fierce tiger tattoo on his arm, which was quite scary. Gehu looked at Su Jiahua playfully and said, So, it's Su Jiahua. Your body is still so attractive. If you don't want to die, come play with me. As for that kid who wants to challenge our boss, he's a fool. Su Jiahua wanted to respond, but Yang Wu had already walked towards Gehu. He waved the crowbar and smashed it towards Gehu's head. Moreover, he domineeringly shouted, Fight! Chapter 54. In the former territory of the 5th region, there were 2 prison slave bosses sitting together. They were the hunchbacked bastard and the one-eyed Zhou Shuilong. Bastard's body was hunched over, and he looked very old. He held an iron staff in his hand, which was inserted into the ground to support his body. It seemed like he would collapse at any moment without it. Zhou Shuilong was blind in one eye and had a black cloth wrapped around it. He carried a large blade on his back, and his entire body was filled with hostility. His teeth looked like he was about to bite someone at any moment. These 2 prison slave bosses were both top-level warriors. They were ranked above Black Gorilla, which meant that they weren't any weaker than Black Gorilla. They might even be a bit stronger. At this moment, a prison slave ran over to them and said, 2 bosses. Yang Wu has already made his move. He was stopped by Gehu and the others. Zhou Shuilong gritted his teeth and said, If he can't even get past Gehu, then he's not worth our time. 60,000 Jin of red steel. You take 40,000, I only want 20,000. Bastard said weakly. Brother Wang, are you not going to help? Zhou Shuilong asked. I'm old. I still want to save my strength and live for a few more years. Bastard replied. Brother Wang, you must be joking. Since you don't want to help, then I'll help you take care of that brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. However, let's split the red steel. I don't want to take advantage of Brother Wang. Zhou Shuilong said politely. He didn't dare to take Tortoise's words seriously. The 2 of them had fought before, and he wasn't a match for this hunchback guy. He felt that this hunchback guy could break through to the human general realm at any time. Perhaps one day, he would really leave this prison and head to the Death Legion. I'm old. I don't have much use for this much red steel. However, the people below need to eat. Bastard sighed again. Zhou Shuilong's face twitched and said, since it's like this, I only want 20,000. Brother Wang, 40,000 is fine. Bastard's old eyes opened, and he said with a smile, Little Zhou, you're not bad. I have high hopes for you. Zhou Shuilong wanted to eat Bastard alive, but he had to keep a smile on his face. He didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction. Another half an hour later, a prison slave hurriedly ran over and shouted, Not good. 2 bosses, Gehu and the others have been defeated. What a bunch of trash. Zhou Shuilong shouted angrily. He had come here alone and left his 12 Vajras to intercept and kill Yang Wu and the others. However, they had actually been defeated, which made him rather unhappy. At this moment, Yang Wu, Su Jiahua, Fatty Dong, and the others appeared not far from Wang Bajin and Zhou Shuilong. Yang Wu dragged the crowbar with his head held high. There were still many bloodstains on his chest that hadn't dried yet. However, this wasn't his blood, but rather the blood of Gehu, who was being dragged by his other hand. Gehu was Zhou Shuilong's great Vajra. There were 11 other Vajras, known as Zhou Shuilong's 12 Vajras. Each one of them was at the intermediate warrior realm. They led 100 people to block Yang Wu's path, thinking that they would be able to slaughter Yang Wu. Unfortunately, they had seriously underestimated Yang Wu's strength. Yang Wu didn't waste any words with them and attacked from the start. Even if Gehu was an advanced warrior, he still wasn't a match for Yang Wu. In just 2 or 3 moves, he was beaten half to death. Gehu couldn't believe that he had become so weak. Even in front of Zhou Shuilong, he could take at least 10 moves. After Gehu was captured, the others began to attack. Yang Wu was like a wolf in a flock of sheep. He waved the crowbar, displaying the perfect torrential spear technique without restraint. His attacks were swift and fierce, landing on the prison slaves one after another, beating them until they cried for their parents. Yang Wu's strength was too strong. Every one of his crowbars exceeded 10 Ding's strength. It was absolutely a sweep. The 12 Vajras weren't a match for Yang Wu even when they joined forces. They were all swept away in a single move. Zhou Shuilong's subordinates were all scared out of their wits. Their momentum was so frightened that it shrunk. Their previous ferocity was completely gone. Su Jiahua and Fatty Dong took the opportunity to attack. Following Yang Wu's charge, the 100 people on the other side were no longer able to pose a threat. Yang Wu didn't want to waste time on these prison slaves. He carried Gehu and dragged him to the location of the challenge. Although Wang Bajin didn't send anyone to intercept them, there were still many onlookers. When they saw Gehu being dragged by a youth like a dead dog, their hearts tightened. He's Gehu, the number 1 Vajra under Boss Zhou. How could he be beaten so miserably? Looks like that youth is the one who challenged the 2 bosses, Yang Wu. He's really courageous. In front of the 2 bosses, he's courting death. B-boss, save me. Gehu was lying on the ground while being carried by Yang Wu. When he saw Zhou Shuilong, he couldn't wait to ask for help. Zhou Shuilong looked at his number 1 Vajra and frowned at Yang Wu. He shouted, Let him go immediately or die. Yang Wu raised his head and looked in the direction of Wang Bajin and Zhou Shuilong. He shouted, Yang Wu is here to challenge. After saying that, he threw Gehu in his hand like a human sandbag at the 2 people. Gehu was so frightened that he screamed. Yellow and white matter spurted out from his pants. A foul smell filled the air, making people feel disgusted. Zhou Shuilong wrinkled his nose and sent a punch through the air. A burst of Qi sent Gehu flying to the side. The tragic Gehu was beaten to the point where it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. It had to be said that Zhou Shuilong was really a cold-hearted person. Zhou Shuilong stepped down from a high place and stared at Yang Wu with a pair of eyes that could kill. He bared his bloody teeth and said, I've heard that the one who slaughtered the black gorilla was a young man. Now that I've seen it, it's true. I'm sure that your blood will be very delicious. Of course my blood will be more delicious than yours. Unfortunately, You won't have the chance to taste it. Yang Wu replied with his black hair flying. He paused for a moment and looked at Wang Bajin. He said, Wang Bajin, Zhou Shuilong, I've heard that you too are the bosses of the prison slaves. Today, I, Yang Wu, officially challenge you. If you win, I'll give you 60,000 red steel stones. If you lose, you only need to give me 20,000 red steel stones each. Everyone here can bear witness. Yang Wu was full of confidence as he spoke. The female prison slaves all looked at him with infatuation. Ha, what a big tone. If you give me 60,000 red steel stones, I'll give you a chance to become my subordinate. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving here today. Zhou Shuilong laughed wildly. You have bad breath. Yang Wu pinched his nose and said seriously. Zhou Shuilong glared at him and said, What did you say? I said you have bad breath. Please shut your mouth. Yang Wu emphasized again. It's really smelly. Fatty Dong, who was behind Yang Wu, pinched his nose and agreed. I'm going to faint from the stench. Su Jiahua also said while pinching her nose. They weren't lying. Zhou Shuilong really did have bad breath. However, this was his taboo. No one dared to say in front of him. The consequences would be very tragic. All of you kneel down. Otherwise, you'll all die. Zhou Shuilong shouted with smoke coming out of his 7 orifices. Don't talk nonsense. If you want to fight, then fight. Don't talk anymore. It stinks worse than a pile of shit. Yang Wu couldn't take it anymore. You can go to hell. Zhou Shuilong's hair stood on end. He shouted and walked towards Yang Wu. His hands reached for Yang Wu's neck. Although Zhou Shuilong was grabbing with his bare hands, in fact, his claws had already condensed a bloody aura. It was like a pair of bloody claws that made people feel fear and difficult to block. Unfortunately, this amount of blood qi was nothing in Yang Wu's eyes. Yang Wu directly swung the crowbar and smashed it over. Yang Wu didn't hold back at all. A blue light covered the sky, containing a powerful force, and hit Zhou Shuilong's claws. Zhou Shuilong's claws collided with the crowbar. He was immediately whipped until his 10 fingers bled. He was in so much pain that he quickly retracted his claws. How can this brat's strength be so great? Zhou Shuilong secretly shouted. He no longer held back. After retreating a few steps, he drew his blade to kill Yang Wu. Yang Wu didn't stop Zhou Shuilong from drawing his blade. Instead, he calmly glanced at Wang Bajin, who hadn't made a move yet, and said, Wang Bajin, you come at me together. You can defeat Zhou Shuilong. Wang Bajin didn't open his mouth. Zhou Shuilong was already furious and said, You dare to look down on me? I'll split your head. I already told you not to open your mouth again. Yang Wu glared at Zhou Shuilong and shouted. He swung the crowbar like a rainbow. He took the initiative and directly slapped Zhou Shuilong's mouth. Zhou Shuilong's teeth cracked and blood splashed out. His mouth was badly mutilated. It could be seen that Yang Wu's crowbar wasn't light. Woo-woo. Zhou Shuilong covered his bleeding mouth and continuously retreated. Anyone who looked at him could feel the pain. Wang Bajin, who had been half knocked out, was now completely awake. He revealed a smile that was uglier than crying and said, I'm old and can't compare to you young people. However, if you want to take 20,000 red steel stones from my hands, then I'll have to risk my old life and exchange a few moves with you. Wang Bajin walked over. At first, he walked slowly, but then he walked faster and faster. Where was his weak appearance from before? Ha! You should have made your move long ago. Yang Wu gave a long laugh and raised the crowbar to meet him. When Wang Bajin and Yang Wu approached, he stomped on the ground. A deep hole appeared in the ground, and sand and stone flew towards Yang Wu. This was a move to disturb the enemy. Yang Wu narrowed his eyes and spun the crowbar to sweep the sand and stone away. Wang Bajin's attack had already arrived. They were evenly matched. The crowbar in Wang Bajin's hand swayed left and right like a scale. It swayed and suddenly blurred, confusing people's eyes. The two balls of celestial energy were connected at the ends. The celestial energy reached 1.5 feet, and the power it contained was no small matter. Yang Wu did not dodge. The crowbar turned into a blue light and met the attack like a storm. The dense crowbar light was impossible to guard against. Yang Wu had received Sun Rui's guidance and had already displayed the rainstorm spear technique to perfection. His combat strength was comparable to that of a general realm cultivator, so he was not afraid of fighting Wang Bajin head-on. Zhou Shuilong seized the opportunity to move. He had already drawn his large saber. The moment Yang Wu revealed a slight opening, he raised his saber and slashed at Yang Wu, wanting to split Yang Wu in half. "Young master, watch your back." Su Jiahua could not help but cry out. Yang Wu seemed to have eyes at the back of his head. He dodged Zhou Shuilong's attack with a sidestep, and his body even crashed into Zhou Shuilong's chest. With his back against the mountain, Zhou Shuilong was sent flying, vomiting blood. At this time, Wang Bajin had curled into a ball. His back was hunched like a ball. He rolled to Yang Wu's feet and grabbed Yang Wu's feet. He sneered and shouted, "I'll tear you apart alive." He exerted strength in his arms, wanting to tear Yang Wu in half from between his legs. Chapter 55. Wang Bajin's arms were filled with mystical qi, and blue veins were faintly visible. He was using all his strength to tear Yang Wu in half. Just when Wang Bajin thought he could kill Yang Wu, he found that his legs were like old pine trees that were deeply embedded in the soil. They were steady and powerful, and it was difficult to tear them apart. Dragon Turtle Water Suppression Stance. This stance technique could be called a peerless stance technique. Yang Wu's feet were nailed to the ground, and he was absorbing mystical qi. The strength between his legs was the most domineering. Even Wang Bajin, who could exert 13 cauldrons of strength, found it difficult to move them. Yang Wu bent his knees, and then a force rushed up from the soles of his feet. His body shot up like a bow, and 2 water dragons seemed to be sucked out of the ground. Dragon Turtle Water Absorption. This was the transformation of the Dragon Turtle Water Suppression stance in Yang Wu's mind. The moment Yang Wu shot up, Wang Bajin's body was pulled up by the roots before he could withdraw his hands. Yang Wu crossed his legs, and the water dragons intertwined, forming a chain that strangled Wang Bajin's neck. Yang Wu shouted, "Kill!" Yang Wu's legs were like scissors, and the chain strangled Wang Bajin's neck until it bled. Wang Bajin held on tightly to the chain, but he couldn't stop the chain from breaking his neck. He hadn't felt the taste of death in a long time. Spare my life," Wang Bajin begged with difficulty. Wang Bajin was afraid of death. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed in the mountain prison all this time, and not go to the Death Legion to kill the barbarians to clear his identity as a prison slave. He was waiting to take the step to become a human general before going to the Death Legion. Only then would he have a higher chance of surviving. But now, he was going to die here, and he was really unwilling. In the end, Yang Wu wasn't a homicidal maniac. The moment Wang Bajin begged for mercy, he weakened his strength and loosened Wang Bajin's chains. When Wang Bajin broke free from the chains, a sharp light flashed in his eyes, and his hunchback crashed into Yang Wu. Back crashing mountain. This was a general technique that Tortoise Bajin cultivated that was compatible with his hunchback. The force of this collision was enough to shatter a mountain rock. It was extremely powerful. Yang Wu and Bastard Jean were originally stuck together. He really did not expect Bastard Jean to be so despicable. He had just begged for mercy and turned his back on him in the blink of an eye. It was hard for him to dodge, and his body was sent flying. He flew for 4 to 5 meters before stopping. Despicable. Su Jiahua and Fatty Dong involuntarily cursed. Originally, they had already seen how Yang Wu had defeated Zhou Shuilong and Bastard, and how he had the chance to become the boss of District 2. However, Yang Wu had actually become soft-hearted at the crucial moment, which really disappointed them. Haha, you're really a fledgling. How can you be so merciful in the prison? I'll leave you a complete corpse later. Bastard laughed maniacally and raised his iron staff to chase after Yang Wu. He wanted to completely get rid of Yang Wu. Kill him, Zhou Shuilong, who had crawled up, cried out. However, this pulled on his wound, causing him to cry in pain. When Bastard Jin's iron staff was about to hit Yang Wu's body, Yang Wu had already flipped over like a carp. He bounced up from the ground, and a palm condensed with a spiral force slammed toward the iron staff. Wave-splitting palm. The palm force was turbulent and contained a spiral force. The palm and staff intertwined, and the celestial chi collided. The iron staff fell from Zhou Shuilong's hand, and blood spurted out from his palm. Bastard Jean was scared out of his wits. He quickly retreated without thinking and opened his mouth to admit defeat. Unfortunately, just as he opened his mouth, an iron crowbar had already pierced his mouth like an arrow, directly penetrating his skull. He did not even have time to scream before he died. Zhou Shuilong and the other prison slaves saw this scene and were all scared out of their wits. His killing method was too fierce. If it were any of them, they would not have been able to block it. Yang Wu looked at Bastard Jean, who had fallen to the ground and died. There was no pity on his face. He had already given Bastard Jean a chance, but he did not cherish it. Yang Wu did not look at Bastard Jean again. He looked at Zhou Shuilong. Zhou Shuilong was a vicious person who chose to devour people. He bent his legs and knelt down, saying, "I admit defeat. I admit defeat." At that moment, he could not care less about the pain in his mouth. It was more important to protect his own life. If his strength was comparable to Yang Wu's, even if it was just a little bit weaker, he would still dare to fight to the death. However, the difference between the two of them was too obvious. They were not on the same level at all. How could he fight? It's good that you admit defeat. Remember to send your 40,000 red steel stones to me, Yang Wu said with a chuckle. Don't worry. I'll get someone to send it all over by today. Zhou Shuilong kowtowed and promised. Not bad. Stay here and don't cause trouble for me. Otherwise, you won't have a good time. Yang Wu said. He looked in the direction of the new District 1. After a moment of hesitation, he decided to return to his own place. Deep down, he wanted to kill his way to District 1. However, after thinking about it, he decided against it. Bastard Jin's collision had injured him quite badly. He needed to recuperate. If he rashly entered District 1 to challenge them again, they might just swarm him and kill him. He had the experience of fighting against hundreds of people by himself. However, the new District 1's prison slaves were all fiercer. He was not arrogant enough to ignore them. It was better to do things step by step. None of the onlooking prison slaves had expected that this 1 versus 2 show would end so quickly. Moreover, it was a one-sided situation. This made them feel disappointed, but at the same time, they were terrified of that young man. At such a young age, he was already able to casually kill a top-notch warrior. If he continued to grow, wouldn't he be able to look down on human generals? Unfortunately, no matter how outstanding he was still just a prison slave. Even if he left the mountain prison and entered the Death Army, he might not have a chance to survive. Just as Yang Wu was about to leave, a prison slave knelt out and said, "Greetings, Boss Yang Wu." Only then did the prison slaves realize that Yang Wu had defeated 2 of their bosses in a row. He had already taken the position of boss. One by one, they knelt down and said in unison, "Greetings, Boss Yang Wu." The prison guards in the distance heard this, but most of them turned a deaf ear to it. This was what their superiors had told them to do. Yang Wu did not want to be a boss. He said to the crowd, "I am not your boss, but from today onwards, you can join the Marquis gang. You will soon know who your new boss is." Yang Wu was born in a delicate family. Even if he was reduced to a prison slave, he did not want to have too much to do with these prison slaves. It was enough for him to make friends with Shou Ho, Little Man, and Sun Rue. Yang Wu returned to his own mountain and went to find Sun Rue. Sun Rue was hugging his gourd and sleeping soundly on the ground. His snores were intermittent. He was sleeping soundly. Yang Wu did not disturb him. He sat cross-legged outside the stone house and began to heal his injuries. Su Jianyang, Fatty Dong, and the others supervised the prison slaves as they transported the red steel ores over. Yang Wu had already collected 100,000 kilograms of red steel ores. He could turn in his contributions at any time and leave the mountain prison. He could then join the Barbarian Suppression Army's Death Legion to atone for his crimes. Many powerful prison slaves hoped that such a day would come. Unfortunately, they did not have a battle prowess as abnormal as Yang Wu's. They could only endure and wait until the day their sentences ended. They would be released without charges. Not long after Yang Wu started meditating, his injuries were almost healed. Sun Rue had not woken up yet, so little He came back first. There was a rag in its mouth. Yang Wu took it and looked at it, only to find that there were 4 words written on it. "Everything is fine, young master. Don't worry." The words were elegant and square. It must have been written by little man. Yang Wu smiled and said to himself, "It's fine as long as they're fine. I'll find a chance to talk to Sister Lon Xin and open the door for them." "Io, little He, you want to steal my gourd wine again? You're really pissing me off." Sun Rue's exclamation came from inside the house. Obviously, he had been ambushed by little He again. However, little He had never succeeded in stealing the gourd wine. Instead, it had bitten Sun Rue's buttocks several times. "Little He, stop messing around," Yang Wu called out from inside. Little He was very obedient to Yang Wu's words. It quickly came out from inside and jumped onto Yang Wu's shoulder skillfully. It looked very obedient and gentle. Yang Wu bowed to Sun Rue in the stone house and said, "Elder Sun, can you give me some pointers? I'll be eternally grateful." Sun Rue had taught him martial arts twice, so he was certain that this wretched old man was hiding his true strength. Perhaps, as his younger brother had said, he was an extremely talented master. He should be courteous to the wise and ask this old man to help him and give him pointers on how to proceed on his next path. Sun Rue's eyes moved. He straightened his slightly hunched back and said with the look of an expert, "You have a good eye, kid. You know that I'm a hidden expert." "Not bad, not bad." Yang Wu continued to bow and said seriously, "Please give me some pointers, Elder Sun." Sun Rue asked, "What kind of martial arts do you want me to teach you? Show me. If I'm in a good mood, I'll give you a few pointers. I'd like to ask Elder Sun to show me the way forward." Yang Wu replied, TSK. Kid, you're really greedy." Sun Rue clicked his tongue. He paused for a moment and said, "Since you've satisfied 3 of my requests, why don't you tell me about them?" Yang Wu looked up at Sun Rue and said, "I'm Yang Wu, son of Count Yang Yangzhenan. I'm a hereditary viscount. Because I refused to marry into the royal family, I was framed and imprisoned." Yang Wu told Sun Rue everything that had happened to him without holding anything back. Yang Wu had only told Wan Lanxin about these things. Sun Rue was the second. As Sun Rue listened, a wretched smile that hadn't changed for 1,000 years still hung on his aged face. Only his wise and far-sighted eyes frequently emitted bright lights, and he seemed to be pondering or guessing. His thoughts were like the ocean. "That's about it. I'd be eternally grateful if Elder Sun could give me some pointers." After Yang Wu finished speaking, he bowed to Sun Rue again. "Kid, you're not much better than when I was imprisoned." Sun Rue sighed softly and continued, "Now that you've gathered 50,000 kilograms of red steel stones, you can go to the Death Legion to kill the barbarians. It won't be difficult to clear your name, but if you want to take revenge and revive the Yang family, it'll be even more difficult, unless what?" Yang Wu asked. "Unless your martial arts can determine the universe." "How can I determine the universe?" "Shake the barbarians, shake the court, become a noble, and go against the universe."